I'm sure you've already seen it, but I just want to go ahead and express it to you that YouTube TV announced that they have a short-term agreement with Paramount. So you and Molly are good to go, man. So happy Valentine's Day.
Made a phone call after the show, reached out to some people that I know, and we got something done, even if it's just temporary. I think that we have a resolution in sight. So, but thank you for your thoughts.
I wasn't worried at all.
Well, I mean,
no,
you guys were pretty confident that it was going to get taken care of.
Well, here's the thing: we didn't sit there and cry over spilled milk, Pat. What
Like
we
me and
did, we
Conrad
came
did.
up. Yeah, you guys, you just belabored it. Molly and I, we decided that we were going to come up with a contingency plan. So
We did.
and we got others to join us.
We're back.
Yes, it's a movement.
Well, one thing is for sure, it didn't take long. I wonder, Conrad, why didn't DirecTV go the same route as YouTube did? Why did we have to wait a month?
Well, see, my theory was, and you brought it up yesterday, Pat, I believe, and that was YouTube TV also just increased their prices for their subscription. And so when you pair a price hike with, oh, by the way, you're not going to get access to these channels anymore, that's, I would say, pretty bad for the consumer. And, I kind of joked with you this morning, if you're on DirecTV like us, you have to call somebody on the phone, go through this whole process of trying to cancel. They're going to, barter with you. YouTube TV, you just log in, click a button, and you're done with it. And so I think they realized, we need to get this sorted out quickly, or people are going to start leaving this weekend.
I think the customer service in some cases that hurts companies like DirecTV that actually use a human being to talk to you. Okay, I told you guys that I had cut the cord, and then we had a customer service person that talked to me, and I was just trying to see if we could meet in the middle, and she was just downright rude. It made me mad.
I was about to say, cell phone providers and cable providers are brutal.
Yeah, but man, that was great news. I mean, seriously, all kidding aside, that's big, because you think about all the people that left DirecTV over the whole NFL snafu that went to YouTube TV, and so now you're getting ready for the Masters and March Madness. You wanted to get that done, so that's huge. So you don't have to worry with it. So happy Valentine's Day.
Well, thank you. I hope that's not all I get.
Is that not enough?
Just throwing that out there. Well, no,
you get to watch the Masters. Is that not enough?
There's other things that I have my eye on, but yeah, that's great. It's wonderful.
Okay. Just think if the Iron Bowl of basketball was set to be played on CBS tomorrow, and that YouTube TV thing happened. Would that have been something?
Yeah, it would have been something. You would have had company at your house.
Well, needless to say, that's the big one tomorrow. And Landrum, you and I have covered both of these programs for a while, and it's just really cool to see that here we are in February, and Alabama and Auburn's basketball programs, they are the center stage of all of college basketball. And that is something that, honestly, we have never been able to say in our career, and it's pretty cool.
I don't know how many times it's happened. I'm sure Duke and North Carolina, and there's been other teams from the same state that have been 1 and 2 respectively when they matched up. But this is so rare, and to have it here in this state, and just going back to when Bruce Pearl was first hired at Auburn, and the statement that he made, and he actually brought up Alabama, and he brought up UAB and other basketball programs in the state, and he said, we need everybody to be good because it's going to make this state better. Now you fast forward however many seasons later, and look, it's come to fruition with what Nate Oates has done in getting that Alabama program to a Final Four and being a part of elite company now in college basketball. Andy Kennedy at UAB, Bucky at Sanford, Jacksonville State's doing good things. It's just awesome to see where we're just not known for football. Yes, and football is near and dear and first in, I would say, 90% of the people in this state's hearts. But basketball has a place in this state, and it's awesome to have this matchup tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great, and it's wonderful because, once again, College Game Day is going to be in the state. They were at Auburn a couple weeks ago. Now they're going to be in Tuscaloosa tomorrow. And I was asking Conrad this morning, Landrum, you might have an update. I tried to see. I cannot find it on my typical source. Is Bama about a 1.5 point favorite? Is that the update as we come on the air?
Man, as you say that, I am pulling it up right now to see if.
I know Brian Edwards sent us something last night.
Yeah. That's what I have, Pat.
1.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the place that I normally get it, maybe we're going to the same place. They did not have a line out yet.
Oh.
But
yeah,
typically
I
this site
either.
will come out roughly around 11:30 on a Friday with some of those more marquee games. So I'll let you know when it comes up.
Okay. And speaking of that, and we're gonna dive all into this matchup tomorrow. We have got Wimp Sanderson coming on at 11 o'clock. We're going to talk to Nathan King from Auburn Undercover as we preview this monumental matchup tomorrow. Also later in the show, Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16. Rocco Miller will join us from a national perspective. What's at stake, if anything, from a seeding standpoint? So we'll talk bracketology with him. But I want to go back to the 5 o'clock tip yesterday afternoon. I listened to the listeners. I listened to my teammates yesterday. I did fire in on the New Jersey Institute of Technology. It was an 18.5-point spread. And needless to say, it was the first time that I had seen Bryant or NJIT play basketball this year. And about 8 minutes into the game, I saw that I had made a huge mistake. And I just could not wait till it got to halftime, where I was hoping that the live line would provide me a lifeline where I could get out of whatever mess I had gotten myself into in the first half. Because Landrum, I told Conrad this morning, watching the first 8 minutes of that basketball game, it is like my old YMCA pickup basketball days, where you would go and you would wait to get next up and you would just sit there and watch some really bad basketball.
Yeah.
That's what I was watching yesterday. New Jersey Institute of Technology, they need to stick to the technology part of their school because from the basketball aspect, it was terrible. I mean, there was no semblance whatsoever of an offense, no pick and roll, no weave offense. It was nothing. It was basically, I'm going to come down, I'm going to try to shoot a three. And at the very beginning, they hit a couple, and they actually had the lead for about the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, but that quickly went out the door because they stopped hitting their shots. And so I was lucky at halftime. I think I grabbed Bryant at minus 21.5. And so I broke even. So all is good, but
aren't you so glad for live betting? That's your golden parachute now.
No, it absolutely is. But it was a situation where it got a little hairy there for a minute. It's amazing because when we started talking about this on the show yesterday, there was a 16-point spread, right? By the time we went off the air, it was like at 17 and a half. And by the time I got home, it was at 18 and a half. So, and there was no breaking news. It wasn't like NJIT had some kind of top player that all of a sudden wasn't going to play because they're not a very good team to begin with. Anyway.
I was going to say, do they have any top players?
I don't think so.
Well, not only that, I'm looking up notable alumni, and I have no idea who any of these people are.
So there's not like some tech whiz that graduated from there?
No former presidents?
Let me give you number one that they list on this list, and it's Wally Schirra, who it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He was an American naval aviator, test pilot, and NASA astronaut. Yeah, that's one. If we skip down to 8, we got Gerard Foschini, who was an American telecommunications engineer who worked for Bell Laboratories. So I'm guessing that would be South Central Bell. I don't know. I'm reaching here. But sure, he made advancements in telecommunications. And then good old Ned Thompson, American Republican Party politician who represented the 30th district in New Jersey from 2017 to 2024. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's your list of NJIT alumni, notable alumni. But, Pat, you started out by telling everybody, framing up that game that you bet on, but you started out by saying, now, I had not seen either one of these teams play this year.
Correct. I was going just strictly on statistical data.
Not that we're encouraging any of our listeners to pick up gambling today. It's kind of like smoking. If you haven't started it, just don't do it. But, Pat, that's probably the first piece of advice we would give somebody.
Well, listen, if you believe in analytics and you believe in the numbers, then you go with the numbers. And everyone was making a really strong case yesterday. And I decided at the very end, and I think it might have been, Conrad might have been the last person that I was texting with yesterday afternoon. And what was the last thing you told me, Conrad? It's got to be NJIT?
I don't know. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if you're going to play a game like that, you have to go with the underdog, I feel like, in that kind of scenario.
Pat, pull up the text. I was trying to be encouraging. You sent me that text, and what was the last text that I sent you?
Okay, let me take a gander here. Oh, Goliath was a 40-point favorite versus David and the Highlanders.
See, my last text to Pat was not that encouraging last night. I checked the score.
Was yours idiot?
No, it was just like, hey, I
Should've
just
been.
checked the score and I deeply apologize.
Hand on face emoji.
Pretty much.
Probably the best
Pat
thing you
needs
could
to
have
be
said to
humbled
him.
every now and then, right? And
He
that's
does.
what
Yeah.
last night was.
That's right.
Well,
He gets
no
bailed out a
thanks to-
lot
no-
on those live lines.
Well, let me tell you something. I was going to be the first games of the night. Obviously, I broke even, but then Nebraska did not do me very well in their game
No,
against Maryland
they did
last
not.
night. So thanks, Molly.
Well, it's okay.
Appreciate
You know
that.
what? We all can't be Detroit Mercy. So
Pat, could I interest you in maybe doubling down as NJIT takes on Binghamton tomorrow?
Ooh.
At
Well,
1
that's a quick
o'clock?
that's a quick turnaround.
It is.
I don't know what the point spread is. I don't know if you see anything yet, but I promise you, I might be fading NJIT the rest of the year. I don't care what the spread is.
NJIT and Miami, the two teams to fade the rest of the way.
All right. Speaking of spreads, sorry to bust in here. I told you I would let you know when I found it. I found another outlet that has the Auburn Alabama game and already a spread listed. And right now, I think I'm seeing that currently they got Auburn 1.5.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And you said,
Okay.
and I saw on the other that it was Alabama 1.5. That's interesting.
Do you have a total?
Total would have been or is it
I see 172 and a half.
172.5? Yep.
Okay. Does any of those interest y'all?
No, but with Alabama playing at home and Auburn's been a little bit shaky. I know that they won at Vanderbilt and they got things done, but particular players, who's going to show up? What kind of game are we going to get from Janai? How much help are you going to get from guys like Denver Jones and Chaney? He's been great of late, but Miles Kelly, do they step up? Can they defend the three? I got a lot more questions tomorrow in playing in a hostile environment and what that's going to be in that electric atmosphere in Tuscaloosa for Auburn than I do Alabama.
Well, and like Brian Edwards said, I mean, he said if you can get Alabama -3 or better, he absolutely loved that. And yeah, if you're basically saying Alabama just has to win, now granted we're going to say this and Alabama's going to win by 1 point and Auburn's going to cover. But yeah, I mean, you essentially just have to be one bucket better than Auburn at home. Yeah, I like that.
Well, one thing's for sure, and I know you guys talked about it this morning, Conrad, you and Damien, but it's just a fascinating matchup because when you start looking at the numbers between these two teams, Tigers are number 1 in the SEC in field goal percentage, but you look at Alabama and what they do, they shoot very well inside the three-point arc. They're the last place team in the SEC when it comes to three-point shooting percentage-wise, but Alabama in that transition offense, but Auburn's defense is so good. You know, that's why what matchup are we going to see tomorrow, Landrum? Are we going to see, maybe Auburn trying to slow it down, or is it just going to be like usual for Alabama? Is it going to be all breaks? I mean, all gas, no brakes? Are they just going to, try to take it to Auburn that way? So it's going to be fascinating to see how both of these tacticians do the game tomorrow.
I think Auburn will run when they have opportunities, and if they can turn Alabama over, and Alabama has been prone in some games to have a high turnover rate, they don't mind. But to answer your question, I think it is a half-court game, and you try to go ahead and you test Diabate and have that matchup with Broome down low early, and then you play the inside-outside game, and I think you attack Alabama. Why not? And whether you have as much success, but do what Chris Beard and Ole Miss did when they came into Coleman Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
I think Auburn has the personnel where they can at least do that and have more than a fighting chance.
No, I agree 100%. And you think about last year's games, granted, the majority of these rosters, they kind of turn over, but a lot of the main players are still involved. Although Holloway changed jerseys, he's on the other side. But you think about last year where Alabama won. Alabama was not ranked. They knock off number 8 Auburn last year at Coleman Coliseum. That was the first matchup. It was 79-75. Mark Sears, 22 points. Broome went for 25 points, 14 rebounds, but Bama ended up edging them out towards the back end of the game. And then the one, if you remember at Auburn wins 99-81. Auburn was ranked 12th in the nation. Alabama was 16. Jalen Williams had 26 points. Broome had 24. Sears had 25, but if you remember that game, Landrum, 61 fouls were called.
Yeah.
85 free throws were shot. Auburn shot 50 free throws in that basketball game, and you just wonder if you're going to get that kind of physicality tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope that we don't get a foul fest, but I, I don't know. Do we know? Do we know the assignment for that game? Who the officials are going to be? Do you have that handy?
Who I do not. I've not seen that as of yet.
Well, when you find it, but no, I hope that we don't. If we get a physical game and they're calling it on both ends and letting them play, I'm fine with that. I think everybody just wants to see consistency. But when you're deciding a game where who shoots the best percentage in a combined 81 free throws, I could do without that total. I think it's going to be an outstanding game, though. I would hate to see it be lopsided one side or the other just because of the buildup. We're going to get another one at the end of the season in Auburn, but this is shaping up to be really, really. You said it though. What's crazy is that first matchup last year with a 4-point win, Alabama not ranked.
Yeah, not ranked.
Not ranked.
Mm-mm.
That's college basketball.
A little different this year. Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot
and then
different.
the second game at Auburn was ranked 12th, and Alabama was 16th.
Yep.
Last year, Alabama had kind of gotten some things righted and found themselves into the top 25. Yeah, but the first matchup last year, Alabama, a Final Four team, was not ranked in the first game against Auburn.
Well, what's in it doesn't play out this way every single year, but go back to the year that Auburn made the Final Four. Do you remember the game they went to Kentucky and Kentucky beat the brakes off of them? Beat them by like 30 points. Yeah. And then Auburn started finding their rhythm, found their stride, caught fire, momentum, SEC tournament. Then you had the near hiccup and the first round loss to New Mexico State. Then you start rolling. College basketball, that's why it's so much fun in March.
So whoever loses tomorrow is going to the Final Four.
Yeah, that's the way it shapes up.
That was my takeaway.
That's a good breakdown right there.
Yeah, that was good.
Analysis.
Yes.
One of your Final Four participants will emerge from tomorrow's game.
Well, Molly, our poll question today had to do with what our listeners think, how the game's going to end up tomorrow.
Yeah, simple question. Who wins tomorrow's IBOB? Will it be Auburn or Alabama? And right now winning, I think Conrad must have voted with all of his burner accounts. But Alabama is winning with 69%.
Thought it'd be a little bit closer than that. Even though you think that Alabama...
I had a lot of time on my hands this morning.
I don't know. If you want to go back and you want to do a little history search on our Twitter polls involving Auburn versus Alabama type questions, that's typically the way it goes.
Typically. Thanks,
What are you trying to say?
I'm not just stating
just means more for some of us.
You and all your burners. Waffle Stomp 98, Waffle Stomp 99, Waffle Stomp.
Sniffles.
Yep. Dirty Toes.
Sniffles.
2003, Cave Diver.
Yeah, Waffle Stomp 420 was taken, unfortunately. So, there's been a couple hiccups along the way, but
I like the Cave Diver. That's a good one.
That was a good one.
Bucky Stole My Wife 23.
That's another good one.
It's going to be so nice. Her and Bucky are going to have a great dinner tonight.
Did you get them the table?
I did. I made the reservation and everything, and I'm going to drive them and be, they can sit in the back seat, so it'll be like I'm the Uber driver or whatever, and yeah, it'll be great.
Are you wearing the driver's cap tonight?
That's right, absolutely. I rented a tux.
You could have borrowed mine that I used to park cars at Pat's party.
That's right. I'll remember that for next time.
We're about the same.
Did you ever
size.
get the red clay out of the pants?
You call it clay. We call it something else.
Oh, my. Okay, Wimp Sanderson's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. He's going to break down this historic matchup tomorrow. Next hour, Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. Also, Rocco Miller later in the show, the bracketologist. We've got Southeastern 16's Blake Lovell joining us. Your texts are welcome on the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. This is a fun Friday, Freaky Friday on Valentine's Day. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 10:23, Jocks 94.5 on this Friday. Happy Valentine's Day. Thanks for tuning us in. Great radio stations like up in Huntsville, The Ump, also down in the capital city of Montgomery, 7:40 a.m., and of course throughout central Alabama on Jocks 94.5. We have got basketball tomorrow right here on Jocks 94.5. You can hear Auburn and Alabama from Coleman Coliseum tomorrow afternoon right here on Jocks 94.5.
Well, we're currently in the middle of flu season, so make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus, is 100 times more effective than standard air filters and 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. So go find a dealer near you at Trane.com.
So this is a historic matchup coming up tomorrow. You've seen it all week long, especially after both teams took care of business earlier this week. This is the first AP 1 versus 2 matchup since November 21st of 2021 when number 1 Gonzaga played number 2 UCLA. It's the first in-conference play since January of 2016 when number 1 Kansas defeated number 2 Oklahoma. And by the way, this is the first time in SEC history that there have been a number 1 and a number 2 matchup. So with Auburn and Alabama facing off, being number 1 and number 2, tomorrow's game will just be the 6th AP number 1 versus number 2 matchup between teams from the same state ever. And if you think back when Tennessee was number 2 in America and they had a very young coach by the name of Bruce Pearl, he beat number 1 Memphis back in 2008. So one of the 6 times it has happened, Bruce Pearl, he was number 2 and he knocked off number 1. And so here he is now involved as the number 1 team playing the number 2 team.
Yeah, I don't know if you're Nate Oates or you're Bruce Pearl, obviously, because of what this means here in the state and having the 1 versus 2, you want to win the game, but it's not like you're putting all of your eggs in this basket. You know how tough it is to win on the road against anyone if you're Bruce Pearl. And so going in, if you're able to do it, that's great, but you know that you get the return trip. In college basketball, it's different. I think more so for maybe Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl, you just want to see your teams play well. Just play well. I think that's first and foremost, because are you going to start getting consistent play night in, night out down the stretch when it does matter and you start playing more meaningful games? Just consistency, not having the up and down and the ebbs and flows that typically come with college basketball.
One thing is for sure, when you look at what Alabama and Auburn both have remaining, it's a daunting task, especially when you look at Alabama playing number 1, then number 21, number 15, number 22, number 5, number 3, and then number 1 again. Of course, those rankings are gonna vacillate. They're gonna go back and forth over the course of the next couple of weeks. But both of these teams, Landrum, they set out at the beginning of this season, and Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl, they made sure that this schedule was going to be tested. And I mean, this is what they did in the pre-conference, and they're battle tested. I mean, both of them. So it's not like, okay, whoever loses this game doesn't mean that the season's over with. You got a lot more tough basketball down the stretch, and you just hope that what you've been able to put together so far with your resume, it's going to pay dividends for you on the back end of this SEC schedule.
And what was a better road win, Conrad? Would it be Alabama's win in College Station or Alabama's win at Rupp?
I would probably say Rupp, just because of the atmosphere and the having to go to Rupp Arena just feels like a bigger event. I respect Texas A&M. Obviously, has had a great season so far. I just, what Kentucky has done against top 10 teams this year, I would still give that one the nod.
Meanwhile, I think Auburn's is probably the game that they had in Oxford versus Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great win. Mm-hmm.
Because some of those bigger matchups they had, whether it was at Legacy Arena, and you can say, yeah, that was an Auburn home game, but it wasn't at Neville Arena. The game that they had in Houston at Toyota Center, the games that they had out in Maui where they played that stretch and remained undefeated. But the only other atmosphere I think that you would say would be comparable would be the Duke atmosphere that you got at Camden Indoor Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they haven't seen this. I think the challenge for Bruce Pearl is, we saw what you did against an elite team the last time we played, and that was on our home floor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Auburn will be dialed in, but Alabama should be as well. I think it's going to be a whale of a game.
Well, and I think one of the interesting parts is, we talk about, all right, yeah, Auburn struggled on the road. Well, okay, who hasn't really? But it's just kind of funny because I would argue that Alabama has played worse at home a lot of games this year than they have on the road. So you have a game tomorrow where Auburn's not at their best on the road and Alabama's not at their best at home typically. So who's kind of going to win that matchup and who's going to show up?
Almost every day, both of these programs, we talk about history being made. And Auburn is currently 6-0 in SEC road games. A win tomorrow would mark a new program record in that stat in a season. Is that not incredible?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty strong.
And of all years to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's the year that you have the most competitive and the deepest conference that we've ever had. And for you to do that, it's pretty amazing.
What will well, I guess it just depends on how the game goes. Because there will be some people that are throwing away the baby with the bathwater with the season. If this is a landslide one direction or the other.
You think so?
Yeah. I do. I think if it's Auburn, you'll say, hey, you'll hear they peaked too soon. They're not playing consistent. We've seen Auburn's best. Now it looks like they're out of steam. Janai's not healthy. They're not getting consistent shooting. Something's wrong with that team. If it's Alabama, look, turnovers. Mark Sears, whatever little bitty narrative that they've had in wins, in spite of some of those things in the past, Conrad, I could see that those become more magnified if we get a runaway one way or the other.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And you just don't want it to, if that were to happen, to then again turn into a situation where, like, for example, Alabama, you got to go on the road and play Missouri in the middle of the week next week. What happens if you lose to Auburn and then go on the road? And that's going to be a very tricky game. And now you're sitting there a couple of games back in the SEC standings. You've lost 2 games in a row. And, oh, great, we still have 5 games left against top 25 teams. You can find yourself in a difficult situation, similar with Auburn, because they have 5 of their 7 last games, I believe, are against top 25 teams. So, we talk about it all the time, but it feels like this game, especially, whoever loses the game, don't let them beat you twice.
And why you're going to get that overreaction is because it's the relationship and the rivalry between these two schools. I don't think you would get it if it was Alabama and let's just say they played Tennessee on Saturday, and for some reason Tennessee found an offense. They played really good defense. I don't think Alabama fans are.
Well, it would be, Auburn broke this Alabama basketball team, or vice versa. And yeah, as a fan, that's the last thing that you
think
want
about
the
Auburn.
other side to be able
they
to
were
argue.
They were down by 20 plus in the second half to Florida, and they managed to cut it to make it somewhat respectable. And the final score was not indicative of how that game went. But you didn't hear Auburn. It was all right. Well, we were due one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, if you get another one of those and it comes to your rival at Coleman, then that's just what I think the narrative will be on Monday.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, we're going to find out what Coach Wimp Sanderson thinks. He's brought to you by Craneworks. That's next on 3-Man Front. It is 10:34, Jocks 94.5. Coach Wimp Sanderson, moments away. We'll get his take on tomorrow's monumental matchup down at Coleman Coliseum. Again, a reminder, you can listen to the game right here on Jocks 94.5.
Well, if you're still looking around for maybe a Valentine's gift for your significant other, or maybe yourself, you can treat yourself to Mandu. It's electrical muscle stimulation fitness. Make 2025 your best year yet when it comes to how you feel, your overall wellness, your body. Electrical muscle stimulation fitness. It's revolutionary technology. You go into Mandu in downtown Homewood. Your first visit is absolutely free. They're going to put you in a suit, put you through a workout, electric pulses that get sent to various parts of your body in that 15-minute workout. That's right, 15 minutes. You're going to feel it when you get done, but it's only 15 minutes, and that's the equivalent to 6 to 8 hours in a gym. You're going to get results. I can guarantee you that. I've gotten results. Damian Mitchell here at Jocks 94.5. So many of our great Jocks listeners have done it as well. Mandu in downtown Homewood, yes, it does work. I can guarantee it. Go and try it for free for the first time and treat yourself and your significant other to a great gift of health. That's how you show someone that you love them. Mandu in downtown Homewood, MANDUU.com, and make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
Every single Friday, we're so happy to be joined, thanks to Craneworks, former Alabama head coach. I'm sorry.
Coach is not with us right now. We are working.
Okay,
we are
sorry.
efforting Wimp Sanderson.
You think he's working extra hard on his blue plate?
I would think so. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe he's just beside himself. He just listened to the last segment and our breakdown and analysis of this matchup. And those dumb bunnies, they don't know nothing. Now he's calling. Conrad has left the room. Molly, can you grab that phone? We're doing all this on the fly. Now Conrad is racing back into the room. I'm going to just do play-by-play of Conrad. Conrad is picking up phone. He is now greeting who I can tell that is Wimp's number. I'm not really sure what Wimp is saying to him, but Conrad is still smiling, blushing a little bit, but he might just be out of, what do you think, maybe Molly just a little bit winded running down the hall? He's lost some weight.
Either that or Wimp told him Happy Valentine's Day.
I don't think that Wimp told him Happy Valentine's Day. That's just a guess. I don't think you get those from Wimp.
No, I don't think so either. But, you can hope, though.
But maybe so. All right, Pat, let's try this again. Take it away, friend.
Okay, here we go. Each and every Friday, thanks to Craneworks, Coach Wimp Sanderson.
Once known as the St. Valentine of the sideline. Coach Wimp Sanderson. Hey, Coach, happy Valentine's Day.
You know how to buy your Valentine's cards, don't you?
No.
You buy them tomorrow at a half price.
Okay.
There you go.
I know people who do that with Christmas ornaments.
It's not a bad idea. Buy them, and, you buy a whole bundle of them, and you'll have them for next year.
No, you're right.
They may not be a next year for me, but y'all might have them next year.
Oh, Coach, don't you say that. Come on. Don't go morbid here to open up a segment on a Friday.
I'm not being morbid. It's just going to be a great game. Both teams are well coached. Both teams play terrific at times. Both of them have different characteristics. I think Alabama, for the Alabama fans and the coaches, they worry about their turnovers. They worry about sometimes the defensive situations at times. But I think Alabama scores from all areas on the court, and they shoot the three well. They do a good job with the fast break. They get cheap baskets. They get offensive rebounds. And the same for Auburn. Auburn may not be quite as prolific offensively as Alabama, but they're so darn good defensively. I think one of the keys that nobody talks about is rebounding. Your ability to get second and third shots off the glass. If you shoot the three in the long rebounds, you get it back and have a chance to take it back inside or shoot another three. The more shots you can get, the better off you are. Or if you're able to go to the defensive end and limit your opponent to one shot per possession, you don't do it all the time, and stop them from making getting an opportunity to shoot second and third shots. That's a big key in the game. There are a lot of keys in the game. Every game takes on its own personality. The matchups, how you're going to play Broome, how you're going to play Sears, those kinds of things. But it should be I'll say something at the end of the show. I don't want about basketball and so forth, but something besides this. But it should be a great game.
Coach, you've been around this rivalry for a long time.
Yep.
Is it too much hyperbole? Can we say that this is the biggest matchup in the history of these two schools against each other?
I think so. It's according to who you are. If you'll ask my players, I double talked. I said, every game counts a one win or one loss, and then I turned around and said the Auburn game did not. We got ready for the Auburn game as hard as we could ever get ready for anything. We worked night and day. We did everything we could do. I even had a letter written to Alabama telling us how bad we were. It postmarked from Auburn. So we worked very hard. For me personally, I don't want to downplay the game because they all talked about how good it is, and I have too. But for me, just me personally, it was a big deal. We recruited in the state. We wanted to get players here in the state. We had two people we were going against. UAB was good better back then. Auburn was good, and it was important for us to do good and to be good, and we were. So I'm not taking away from what you said. For the average guy, look, the media is so much bigger now than it was then. Who you think got the most publicity, Nick Saban or Coach Bryant? Well, naturally you'd say Nick, and it's bigger because one's playing two. We never had that, but for me personally, it's not any bigger. Sorry.
Talking to Coach Wimp Sanderson, courtesy of our friends at Craneworks on the Buyers Right Hotline, as we preview tomorrow's Auburn and Alabama matchup at Coleman Coliseum. Coach, I want to put this disclaimer out because I know it would come out of your mouth. You're not trying to coach anybody's team. You're not trying to coach Nate's team. You're not trying to coach Bruce's team. But we want your wisdom and your expertise. If you're Auburn, the blueprint of what Chris Beard and Ole Miss did in Coleman Coliseum when they got that win, how do you try to slow down and take away some of those things that Alabama does so well offensively?
Well, I don't know, and I don't want to say this wrong. I don't know that you don't shorten the game a little bit. That you might, and Auburn's got to play the way he wants them to play, but they might shorten it just a tad. I'm not talking hold the ball, but just be darn sure they got a good shot, and be darn sure that they got the basketball to Broom where he could go back and use the glass inside, and where. The little guy, Chad Baker, you have to remember something. They got a lot of good players on this Auburn team. Chad Baker did not score in the first half against Vanderbilt. He was sick or hurt. Broom got 2, and Auburn was only 2 down. So I'm telling you right now, Auburn's good, and they shoot good. They shoot good shots, and they defend you awfully well. But the rebounding is going to be a key. Matchups. I've already said this. I probably shouldn't say it because I don't want anybody to think I'm coaching their team. If I were playing against Sears, I would guard him without the ball. I would try to keep the ball off of him. I would not try to guard him while he got it. I'd do everything I possibly could to keep the basketball off of him. I think that's big. I don't know that Auburn will do that. And if I'm Alabama, I do everything I can to be sure that the lob passes are there to the big guy inside. And cause Broom to have to guard somebody early. And so there are a lot of different things that change as the game goes on. You can test threes. I did something when I coached, and I've said this on other shows, that people didn't do, but it worked out. When we were contesting threes, I was darn, I had a lot of minority players, and we were very athletic. We left our feet. And went after the ball on threes. That's the way we played. You would say to me, well, what happens if he gets by you on a dribble? I just told the next guy to pick him up. And it worked. I was telling Richard Williams that one time, who got to the Final Four at Mississippi State. And he came back to me about a month later. He said, Wimp, that's the best thing we've ever done. We can you can't. When I went into the dressing room at the halftime, I wanted to know the number of contested threes that we had contested. And if we contest the 3 now, I contest the three. By George, I better get the rebound or I'm in trouble. Those little things that the fans are bored with when I say that, those are the different. That's the difference in winning a basketball game. Another thing that's big, around the basket, the backboard is your friend. If you've got the shot with your guards inside and can use the board, use it. It's your friend. Basketball is a game of angles. If you're on the baseline, there is no board. But if you come out 5 feet, there is a board. So that's the reason Broom is so good inside. He takes that thing back to his left and scores really well with it. So you got to cut that. You got to cut that down and read and find out what he does best and try to stop him. And then Sears is hard to guard. You got to get on his left leg, and you got to run him to the right. He won't be as effective. I'd guard him without the ball. What else?
Coach, any concern about Alabama is dead last in the SEC in turnovers? And I understand that the pace of play that Nate Oates likes to instill in his offense, that is you're going to have more turnovers just because of the way that you're playing.
Yeah.
But is there an area of concern for you with that number being as high as it is, or it's just the product of what you're trying to do?
I think some nights it is. Yes, I have thought. Now I don't know if this will all go together or not. I think Alabama is so darn good offensively that they can almost overcome the turnovers and some poor defensive play at times. Now there may be nights that they're not as good offensively as I say they could be, and the turnovers are a factor. And the turnovers have been a factor in the game occasionally. Ole Miss was certainly a turnover deal there. But I think the turnovers concern you a little bit. Auburn's not going to turn it over. Auburn's going to defend you. They're going to be smart. They're going to play well. They're going to do the things, shooting the basketball. They can score. There's no doubt about it. But I think one playing two is big. We have so many people that are just semi-basketball fans. This is a big deal because, it is what it is. But, they may not watch it again. But it's a football state. That's the reason Brown knows all the football coaches. When I was at Alabama, we were all good buddies. And they were good to me, and I liked them, and all the athletic directors as well. So it should be a heck of a game. That's a good question. And we'll just, and as I said, every game takes on its own personality. And you got to be, if you're able to keep Alabama in the back court a little bit as they come up the court, and not try to steal the ball, not try to get them to run by you. If you catch them in the back court a little bit and take some time off the clock, it makes it. They'll have to hurry their shots when they get inside on the half court basis. There's too much to talk about.
That's great stuff.
What else?
No, that's it. We're out of time. Are you? I know you're going to be watching. You're going to be in attendance for that.
I am. I'm going to the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got some sickness at home, but I've got that worked out, and I'm going. So.
All right. Well, thinking about you and everything going on there at the Sanderson home, Coach Wimp Sanderson. He is always presented by Craneworks, and Craneworks, they do such a wonderful job, not only here in the state of Alabama, Coach, but throughout the Southeast.
Well, Craneworks is outstanding, and Rental Works is just along with Huntsville and Birmingham, Montgomery, wherever it might be, Mobile. Craneworks is going to come in 5 tons, 2.5 tons, and do the job for you. They're going to take it down and put it up for you. They're going to do everything they possibly can with Rental Works to be darn sure that if they rent you some equipment, they bring the equipment to you, but they also bring an operator. Boy, is that good. That's terrific. So Craneworks, you can't beat them. Hopefully you'll take a look at Craneworks, and if you need something like that, be sure and give them a call and tell them you heard it on our show.
Coach,
thanks, guys.
Really quick, Coach, what's the best Valentine's Day dinner?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe barbecue or steak.
There you go.
How about this? A hearty one. I'll leave you with that. Use that all you want.
A hearty?
Yeah, a hearty one. You get it?
Get it? Hearty.
Hearty. Okay.
Oh, okay.
If you have to explain it, it's not that good. All right. Well, Coach.
No, it's not.
Have a great weekend.
Did I over-explain things?
No,
it was perfect.
It was great.
No.
Okay. Well,
we're going to use it in an audio.
I don't know what's going to happen. Let me say this to you. I told you yesterday. I was on. 15-3. Both of them have one loss. One of them's going to have two more losses or one more loss. It's going to be very close to that. And I would tell our kids every game counts the same. And I lied a little bit. Auburn game counted more.
Good stuff, Coach.
All right.
Thank you.
Later.
Thanks,
All right.
Coach.
Bye.
Coach Wimp Sanderson on the Buyers Right Hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
So a very good friend of mine, someone who you just heard their voice moments ago, says, hey, you know what? I need Golston Tree Service to swing by if possible, because I might have some issues that I want them to look at, because they have a certified arborist on staff there. That's right. Landrum Roberts. That's right. He's taking advantage of calling 205-337-4018 at Golston Tree Service. They're taking a look at some potential issues, because we don't want Gringo next door to have any issues as well. So he's going to try to see what he can do to help Landrum out, and he can help you today at 205-337-4018. Family owned and operated for over 35 years. No job is too big or small, from trimming to removal to grinding the stump and roots out to hauling away to the last stick. They can do it all at Golston Tree Service. Plus, they have 24-hour emergency storm work. That's very important that you put this number in your phone to Golston Tree Service. We've got some bad storms coming through here late tomorrow night into Sunday morning. And if you wake up or you have something that happens to your home or on your property, call Golston Tree Service. That number, 205-337-4018. That is Golston Tree Service. More as we preview tomorrow's iBob of basketball. This is Jocks 94.5. It's 10:55, Jocks 94.5. Great conversation there with Coach Wimp Sanderson. If you missed that interview, that will be uploaded momentarily to our podcast. Download our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Take us along with you. Download the Jocks 94.5 app. You can also have the YouTube app in which you can access the show each and every day and go back and watch it in its entirety. We always have some really funny stuff. So you need to tune in each and every day here on Jocks 94.5 and all of our media partners here on the program. Landrum, that was just a great conversation with Coach Sanderson. I thought he broke it down. Did not bore me whatsoever. I love the coach talk, and listen, nobody knows it better than Coach Sanderson.
I feel better because our novice analysis and watching this game and watching these two teams, and before Coach came on, it maybe did feel a little better. And I love what he said. And from the Auburn standpoint, and it does make a lot of sense with Alabama loving to get up and down. They love to get games in the 80s, 90s. We've seen them over the century mark at least a few times this year. But if you're Auburn, use some of that clock and maybe take Alabama out of their pace and their tempo and stuff that they're comfortable with, and make them uncomfortable and try to get good shots. Meanwhile, if you're Alabama, why not go ahead and take away what Auburn likes to do best and how they get their offense started, and that's typically Janai Broome. Because when Janai's going and then you got to pay extra attention to him, then it's those other guys that can shoot it really well. They find themselves open on the outside. I can't wait for the matchup.
It's going to be great, and we will continue to break it down. Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He's got a lot of great breakdowns on their website at auburnundercover.com. We'll talk to him about this basketball team, what it means for Alabama and Auburn. Will a loss derail their number one seed potentially? We'll get into that and much more with Nathan. This is the Friday edition. It's Valentine's Day right here on Jocks 94.5. We're here until 2, right before Feinbaum. More coming up next. Welcome back in. It's hour number 2 of Three-Man Front. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson with you on the eve of Iron Bowl Saturday. That's right, of basketball. That's coming up tomorrow. You can hear the game right here on Jocks 94.5. Also in the SEC tomorrow, things get started at 11 o'clock as Arkansas is at Texas A&M. You got Vandy at Tennessee. That's a noon tip-off. Mizzou's at Georgia at 2:30. You got the Iron Bowl of basketball at 3 o'clock right here on Jocks 94.5. Then you've got number 22, Mississippi State, taking on number 19, Ole Miss at 5, LSU at Oklahoma, Kentucky at Texas at 7, South Carolina, Florida. They will wrap up a very busy day in the Southeastern Conference. Joining us now on the Buyers Right Hotline from Auburn Undercover, Nathan King joins us now on Three-Man Front. And Nathan, one thing's for sure, the world of basketball is going through the state of Alabama for at least one Saturday, and tomorrow should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, I haven't been, as I'm sure a lot of people, fans of these teams, people around both these programs. I mean, I haven't been this excited for a regular season basketball game in a long time. I mean, it's sort of fitting, right, that it's these two teams. I think Bruce Pearl made an apt point yesterday saying that if you had told someone years ago, decades ago, that it would be Auburn and Alabama as the first 1-2 matchup in SEC history, nobody would have believed you. They would have thought it was a Kentucky or a Florida or an Arkansas. And certainly Alabama has enough basketball history to warrant being in that conversation. But with the job that Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates have done over the last several seasons, perhaps this was an inevitability, because, I mean, they have been pushing each other, striving for greatness on both sides. And now we get quite literally the biggest basketball game of the entire regular season, maybe until they play again on the last day of the regular season.
Nathan, from the Auburn side of things, Janai Broome, when he came off the ankle injury, look, the points have looked like Janai Broome. But when you look at him operating at times during a game, it does look like he's limited. He's not 100% there on that ankle that he sprained. What can you tell us about maybe the percentage of health for that ankle, and how much is he limited in some of these games?
Yeah, I think it's become very clear that he is not 100%. And the way he and Bruce Pearl have kind of talked about it is, look, if this was the NBA, if this was an 82-game season and every game wasn't hanging in the balance in a tight SEC race, sure, Janai Broome would need to take some time off. But he made it very clear to this coaching staff that as soon as I'm available, as soon as I am medically cleared to play, I am playing. And it's not like he's playing a light amount of minutes either. He's usually playing the most minutes for Auburn. And so, I mean, probably around 85% for Janai Broome, maybe 90%. But everyone knows that a 90% Janai Broome is better than 95% of the players in the country. And so Auburn is, comfortable rolling with that right now. And of course, Janai Broome is comfortable rolling with that. I think you bring up a good point. It is correct that his, like you said, his numbers have been great. I think it's like 18.7 points per game, 11 rebounds. The blocks are high. He's still Auburn's leader in assists. All of that is great since returning from injury, but he shot below 50%, from the floor. His rim percentage is still decent. I think that's sort of twofold. Yes, I agree that there are some situations where he puts his back to the basket and comes up at the other end after missing a shot and just kind of seems like he's favoring that ankle a little bit. But also you've seen teams, which is what happens in college basketball over the course of the year, teams are starting to figure out, okay, what works against Janai Broome and what do we need to make him do? Todd Golden was the first one to really talk about it in depth after that Florida win, saying they are trying to make Janai Broome go to his left shoulder more often, because then he kind of has to awkwardly, he's a southpaw, he's got to kind of awkwardly position that left hand, as opposed to when he goes over his right shoulder, he's got kind of that devastating spin move over his right shoulder where it's like, I mean, you can't really get in the way of that left hand. Puts up those little hooks, puts up that little kiss off the glass, and it's pretty tough to stop. And so Mark Byington from Vanderbilt talked about that too, trying to force him to go to that left shoulder instead of his right. And so I think it's a combination of two things. He's not 100% healthy, and as the college basketball season goes on, there's more tape on everybody. People are starting to realize what they need to do in scouting reports. That said, I mean, it's easier said than done, right? Janai Broome was fantastic against Alabama in 2 meetings last season. I think he probably is the best player in this matchup on either side, even when he's not 100% healthy. But it is worth noting, he said a couple times this week, he told Paul Feinbaum this, he told the SEC Network broadcast crew, that he's feeling the best he has since returning from that ankle injury. So still not 100%, but I think all signs are pointing positively for Auburn's best player right now.
We're talking to Nathan King from Auburn Undercover as we continue to preview tomorrow's monumental matchup between number 1 Auburn and number 2 Alabama at Coleman Coliseum. Nathan, I want to ask you about another player. You get this deep in the season, everybody's got bumps and bruises and probably could use a week or so to kind of recharge their batteries. Is everything okay with Baker Mazzara? Because it seems like the last couple games he has not been himself.
Yeah, Florida really was able to take him away from a defensive perspective, physical team there on the perimeter. Tennessee was able to do the same thing. When you're 175 pounds in the SEC, it's gonna be difficult from that perspective sometimes. And then in the aftermath of that Florida game, we saw him leave the floor 2 separate times against Florida after taking hard falls. And then Bruce Pearl said the following week before they went to Vanderbilt, he said, "Look, he's been banged up. He only played 19 minutes against Florida. Obviously, that's uncharacteristic for him. Then they go to Vandy, and he doesn't start in that game. Now, it didn't really seem like he was on a minutes restriction. He plays 29 minutes at Vanderbilt, but like you mentioned, something a little bit off, just not completely in rhythm. He goes 0 for 6 from the floor against Vandy. Now, he has 4 assists in that game. He has 2 steals. He has a block. He plays well otherwise. I would be surprised if he doesn't start on Saturday. And again, that doesn't really matter that much because, again, he did play 29 minutes without starting on Tuesday. But another player, I think, for Auburn where it is trending in the right direction. But like you said, when you get close to mid-February, you start to get some bumps and bruises. And unfortunately for Auburn right now, that is an underlying, there's lots of storylines for this game. One of them is the fact that 2 of their starters are not 100% healthy.
Nathan King, Auburn Undercover, continuing to preview the IBOB coming up at Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa tomorrow, 3 p.m. tip-off time, and you can hear the game right here on Jocks 94.5. Nathan, aside from Mark Sears, we know how good he is at getting open, and when he's hot, he is lethal as anybody in the country. But aside from him, who is that guy offensively that Auburn has to take away on the defensive end for Alabama?
Yeah, I think we've seen what kind of an X factor Chris Youngblood can be for this team, right, over the last several games. I know when he came back from injury, it took a little while for him to get settled in, but particularly that win at Mississippi State really stands out. I think Jaron Stevenson, and obviously he's coming off a 22-point game, and so that's sort of a given, but he kind of strikes me as somebody who's an in-betweener in terms of who Auburn is going to defend him with. And that's something, you look at what Auburn was doing at practice and then what Bruce Pearl has talked about the last couple of days is like extending to these 3-point shooters and not, coming up short and stopping at the 3-point line because, you don't want them to drive past you. He's trying to get into these guys' heads like, no, they are all shooters. Every single one of them is going to pull a 3-point shot, except, maybe with the exception of somebody like Cliff Omoyuri. And so, I think Jaron Stevenson is a really interesting case there because Auburn has good perimeter defense from its bigs. Like Janai Broome and Dylan Cardwell, they can step out. They can step out and defend some guards too. Auburn doesn't want that to happen every single possession. But for me, and not to just like harp on the storyline that everyone will be looking at in this game, but I come back to Aiden Holloway, not just because he's somebody that will have a microscope on him because of the Auburn connection, because of being a former Auburn player. Like Bruce Pearl said yesterday, he's someone that can just bomb it in this game, and he's done such a good job coming off the bench for them. I'm so excited to see, former 5-star Auburn guard against a 5-star Auburn guard when he and Tahad Pettiford go against each other. Talk about explosion, talk about talent, talk about offensive, ceiling for those two guys when they're on the floor together with that second unit. And then obviously I'd be remiss. Here I am going through this, this goes to show you why Alabama's so good. Here I am going through like every single player. But LeBaron Philon, obviously, is somebody that Auburn is pretty keyed in on as well. They knew him when he was committed, when he was like 6'2" and 160 pounds and a skinny scoring guard from Mobile. He is obviously an NBA player now and a lot bigger. If I'm not mistaken, obviously not as closely following the exact statistics for Alabama, but if I'm not mistaken, in their past few home games in particular, Philon has struggled a little bit, or at least just hasn't been overly explosive and impactful on the offensive end. So he feels like somebody, he can just create his own shot. He doesn't necessarily need anybody to help him drive down the lane or help him create steals and assists. And he's kind of an all-around NBA player. So I think if him and Holloway start to get going, we've seen Auburn maybe a little bit susceptible to guards. I do think Holloway is so big because Auburn is obviously going to be focusing on Mark Sears. Denver Jones is such a good defensive point guard. Like they've sort of assigned him, go get that other guy, go stop that other point guard, and he's done a really good job of that for the most part this season. So obviously Mark Sears is going to be a big ask for him on the defensive end of the floor. What can Aiden Holloway, what can Chris Youngblood do away from Mark Sears to be able to open things up a little bit for Alabama?
Nathan, you wrote about it at Auburn Undercover about Auburn regaining its edge, and it's going to start with the defense. And they have played 2 top 5 offenses already in Duke and Florida. Those are 2 of the losses that Auburn has taken upon their schedule this year. Kind of go into the defense and like your article talked about, getting their edge back, and it starts tomorrow with their defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, right? Like Bruce Pearl is this offensive mind that's going all the way back to his time with Tom Davis at Iowa. Like that's where he's cut his teeth. That's where he's made his mark. Auburn obviously is the best offense in the country. Alabama's the best scoring offense in the country. So you could look whatever metric you want to. But when Auburn has had its best teams, it's been able to defend. And this group is really, really versatile on the defensive end. They're a top 20 defense. They fall into that category of like, you see those graphs where it's like, teams that can win a national title have to be like top 15 efficiency offense and defense. Auburn falls into that category, but it's not as potent of a group as, when they had somebody like Walker Kessler, protecting the paint, when they had that type of a unit. And so Bruce Pearl has been not concerned. That's probably the wrong word for it. But when somebody comes and drops 90 points on your home floor, like Florida did, you're going to find reasons to start to shape up after that. Now, I will say Florida, I mean, you couldn't have played. I have never seen a team come into Neville Arena against a good Auburn team. Like, obviously, there's been bad Auburn teams. A good Auburn team and shoot the ball that well in Neville. Like, it's the most points anyone scored in regulation against an NCAA tournament Auburn team since John Morant came in with Murray State back in 2017. And so it was a really, really good performance for Florida. And you kind of got to tip your cap and just say, hey, they made big shots. At the same time, maybe a little bit of rotations were lacking for Auburn on the perimeter. Bruce Pearl was really frustrated with the way they were closing out on 3-point shooters. And he said it after they beat Vanderbilt. And they held Vandy to 68 points. That's really, really good. But Vandy was able to come back in that game. Auburn had a huge lead at the beginning. Vandy was actually able to take a lead there in the second half. It seemed like Auburn was kind of on its heels defensively. And Bruce said it yesterday. He said, look, when we sit down and we are aggressive and tenacious and locked in was the word he used on defense, they're going to be tough to beat because they're going to score on the other end. But he said, when we're not, we're a little bit vulnerable. And so Alabama is obviously not the cure for if you're wanting to fix your defense a little bit. Not, again, Auburn's defense is good, but they want more out of that group. Alabama's obviously not the cure for that, but Bruce Pearl knows it's going to take 40 minutes locked in on that end of the floor, in particular against Alabama, because as we all know on this show right now, what Alabama can do when it starts to snowball, similar to what Auburn does on its home floor. When things start to snowball and you're tracking toward 100 points, that's a really, really difficult team to beat.
Continuing with the Auburn Undercover's Nathan King, who covers the Tigers, joining us as all of our guests do on the Buyers Right Hotline. Love your analysis and you breaking it down in this matchup where you favor Auburn, where you favor Alabama, and then you just got listed as a good matchup. They're really good and proficient at both in some of those categories. But on the Auburn side of things, I asked you about Alabama and away from Mark Sears, but who is that X factor tomorrow for Auburn outside of a Janai Broome? Is it a Chaney Johnson? Is it potentially Miles Kelly? Who do you think has to really be there for Bruce Pearl and the Tigers for them to have a fighting shot to win that game?
I think those are 2 great answers. Miles Kelly is somebody that his shot has kind of faded the past couple games. Now, he's still like number 5 in the league in 3-point shooting in SEC games. But the difference is he was shooting 52% from 3 just a few games ago. Now he's down to like 41%. He's that guy. I mean, as you guys know, like they look at him early in games. They did it against Vandy too. He didn't make the shot, but they look at him early in games. They just peel him off of a screen on the perimeter. And they're like, hey man, go get your shot, because he is the best shooter on this team. And he does that very often in road spots. You remember when they took that big lead early at Duke, he hit 2 3-pointers at the beginning of that game. He has shown up against the best competition on their schedule. And so to stretch out Alabama early in the game, I think is going to be really important. Alabama has size. They have 3 guys in their lineup that go above 6'10". If Grant Nelson is kind of fringe, I think on that height. If they want to stretch things out a little bit though and force Alabama to go one-on-one with Janai Broome on the inside, got to make some of those shots early in the game. And then you mentioned Chaney Johnson as well. That's the one I would go with for a couple reasons. Number one, because of what he brings on both ends of the floor. Like, he just scored 20 points. He just went 9 of 10 from the floor against Vandy. His offensive ceiling is very high this season. It's a lot higher than it was last year. He's added to his skill set. He's a powerful, physical, athletic player. Not one of the best players overall on this team, but a guy that just sort of does a little bit of everything. And he's got, where I look at it, though, is the defensive end. Like, Janai Broome in his last 2 games in Tuscaloosa has fouled out in both of them. Like, is he going to hit for the cycle in fouling out in the Iron Bowl in Coleman Coliseum? Like, sometimes in these games, and more often than not, Alabama's going to shoot a lot of free throws, just like Auburn shoots a lot of free throws on its home floor. It's kind of just how things go. Is Chaney Johnson going to be allowed to be an X factor in this game? He has had some foul trouble this season. Bruce Pearl has talked about him staying down and not jumping at shot fakes when he needs to be, a defensive presence there on the floor. I think it is going to make a big difference in this game for him, and I'll say Dylan Cardwell as well, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think their last couple games there, those kinds of guys just get in foul trouble. Like, Auburn's had short lineups. You remember that overtime game against Brandon Miller? They closed the game. Auburn closed the game with Chris Moore at center because Broome and Cardwell had both fouled out. So if they get to halftime between Chaney Johnson and Dylan Cardwell and they've got 3 combined fouls, 2 or 3, that is an excellent, excellent spot for Auburn to be in, because like we just talked about defense, you can play that tenacious defense. You can be aggressive going up to try to block shots. You're not worried the last thing you want to do, and I think it's kind of some of the reason that Auburn has lost these games in Tuscaloosa over the last couple of years, is that the last thing you want to do against this Alabama offense is be timid. Like, you don't want to be thinking, oh, I've got 4 fouls, like, can't go up and put my hand up on this shot. Like, Alabama's going to shoot from all over the place, and they are going to dare you to come out there and try to defend them. And so if Chaney Johnson gets into the second half with a low number of fouls, if Dylan Cardwell does, I hate to boil it down to fouls because I think a lot of times that's overblown. Like, things are decided other than just, what officials are calling. But I do think that's the key. I do think, like I said, Janai Broome has fouled out in each of the last 2 games. If he gets into foul trouble, especially if a guy like Chaney Johnson, Dylan Cardwell, if that front court has to deal with that once again, it's going to be a really, really uphill battle for Auburn in this game.
Well, it should be a good one. 1 versus 2, Auburn versus Alabama, and then we'll do it again to wrap up the SEC historic season at the end of the calendar of the SEC basketball season. Nathan, always appreciate your time. Enjoy the game tomorrow. We will catch up with you very soon.
Yes, sir. Y'all do the same. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. That is Nathan King from Auburn Undercover, joining us on the Buyers Right hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
Well, as we head into another weekend of SEC hoops, let me tell you about my friends at Easy Hemp Company. Easy is a refreshing new beverage that's reliably microdosed with 3 milligrams of D9 THC and 3 milligrams of CBD per serving. It's also non-alcoholic and free of any added sugars, so you're not going to have any day-after hangover effects for you to worry about. Easy Hemp Co. is based right here in Birmingham, and so if tomorrow, while you're enjoying the game, you're looking for a little bit of a social buzz that's not going to leave you feeling awful on Sunday morning when you wake up, give our friends at Easy Hemp Co. a try. They're available at Piggly Wigglies across the state, or you can visit them online at easyhempco.com to have it shipped directly to your house, or use their Easy Finder map to find a location near you.
When we come back on 3-Man Front, we'll unpack what Nathan told us in regards to this big game tomorrow at Coleman Coliseum. It's the Friday edition of 3-Man Front. Happy Valentine's Day on Jocks 94.5. 11:22, Jocks 94.5. Great breakdown. The last hour with Wimp Sanderson joining us, former Alabama head coach. You just heard from Nathan King. And one thing's for sure, Landrum, this is going to be just not only a historic matchup, but you just look at two completely different styles of offense and defense for that goes between these two teams. So it'll be very interesting to see which one wins out tomorrow.
Yeah, and I thought Nathan, he raised some really good points. And for Auburn, on the Auburn side of thing, and something that Bruce Pearl did say, and if you watch Auburn basketball, it's true. When they decide to get after it on the defensive end, they are really, really tough to score against, and it's hard to run your offense to your liking. But it has seemed like, and maybe I hate to say complacency, because that might be totally wrong. It might just be the number of games and the grind that is the SEC. But it feels like it's been a minute since this Auburn basketball team was firing on all cylinders. Do you guys agree with that? Even in wins. I'm not just specifically. No, the Ole Miss game, that was a really good game. They played really good basketball. Vanderbilt this last week, that was solid.
It stopped when Pat came on here and said he was getting bored of watching them because they were too good. And then
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is exactly what is played out since he made that comment.
They were listening.
Yep.
It's just a long season.
It is a long season.
And I think what Nathan King said about Janai Broome, if he was playing an NBA season, he would have already been shut down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but matter of fact, if we can, Conrad, let's hear what Janai Broome told Paul Feinbaum yesterday. Paul asked him directly in regards to his health, and this is what he had to say about Janai Broome being 100%.
It's day by day, week by week, but right now I'm feeling the best I felt so far. So I'm looking forward to getting back up to 100%. We're aware of the matchup and the game and what comes with the game, but we're already over here. We're gonna prepare this whole week and get ready to go for Saturday. They're a very good team. We are too. Like you said, a lot of people looking forward to this matchup, but we just look to take care of the next game. And Alabama just have to be next, so we're excited to prepare for this game. It's a rivalry game, and we're going to bring it, and we know they are too.
Well, listen, no one expects whether he is 70% or 60%, whatever the case may be. He's not going to come on and he's not going to say that. I mean, I wouldn't. That's just not smart. But you can watch, even in the Vanderbilt game, it just seemed to me, Landrum, that he was laboring a little bit more than he has in the last couple games. But he played a very physical game against a very good Florida team the last time out before Vanderbilt. So it's very understandable that, again, he might be still banged up a little bit more, or maybe he's added a couple more bruises to what was already nagging him before the game.
Yeah, and something that Wimp brought up, and I don't want to speak for Wimp, but it felt like maybe he was talking more towards Auburn. He didn't say it, but if you watched Auburn play, some of the bunnies and some of the easy shots, and what did he say? He said, it's all about angles and using the backboard. And I feel at times when Auburn has maximized their size inside and they've gotten good looks, they haven't been able to finish. And that's happened also in transitional and fast breaks. Against this Alabama team, if they're scoring the way that they score, you can't have missed trips down the floor with easy buckets, and then Alabama swings it back the other way and potentially has numbers. So for Auburn to do that, for Alabama, I think your hope is that Janai Broome is somewhat limited in what he's able to do down low. And can you potentially get him in foul trouble? This game, how it's going to be called, it will be very, very interesting early to see the tempo and maybe how much these officials let them play.
Well, we talked about it before, about the second game down at Auburn. That was just a painful game to watch. And I'm all about making sure that it's not a football game, okay? But when you have 61 fouls called, as you did in the last time these two teams played each other, and 85 free throws, I mean, I'm all about establishing the fact that, okay, you're either going to let them play or not going to let them play, but nobody wants to see that. I'm sorry. Nobody wants to see 85 free throws being shot. And I got a feeling tomorrow that it's going to be one of those physical type games. And so if it's going to be a lot of ticky-tack stuff being called, I think fans better get ready, because this is going to be a 3-hour basketball game. I mean, it is going to be a very long afternoon.
Somebody asking on the text line, we will get to your text later on the show, 205-834-9450. But somebody saying, what is the over-under? If you set the over-under at 1.5 technical fouls tomorrow, how many combined technicals do we get?
1.5 is good.
I will say right now, I feel solid. I feel more solid than Pat did yesterday when he took Injit plus the 18.5 or whatever you ended up getting at over Bryant.
Do you have a lean on which either?
I feel really confident that you will have at least 2 flagrant ones.
Okay. So 1 for each side?
Just said 2 flagrant ones.
Okay. I just didn't know if you had a lean of maybe a certain player, a certain coach that you think would.
No.
You just think it's just going to be a chippy game?
Baker Mazzari would be the easy grab here. Who would be it for Alabama?
Diabate.
Diabate?
Yep. I would agree with that.
Maybe they'll tie
and then
up
Nate
early.
Oates. I would put Nate Oates at the best odds for Alabama, maybe.
I could see Nate Oates, yeah.
Don't you think it's Diabate?
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially if him and Broom are going back and forth the whole time and he's kind of getting bullied. Maybe he feels like, somebody's taking some cheap shots down on the paint, something. Yeah.
I'm going to be interested in who's drawing that assignment with Mark Sears. Is it Denver Jones? Because Denver Jones is a very, very good defender. And Wimp said that one of his suggestions would be, or if he was coaching the game, that he would guard him away from the ball and not let him get those open looks. Is that going to be Denver Jones? And what is Alabama going to try to do to facilitate to get some of those open looks? Just a heck of a matchup. And the fact that we're getting number 1 versus number 2 for the first time ever in SEC history in men's basketball, and for it to happen in this state, kudos.
I just hate that Carl Ravitch is not doing the game.
No.
Yeah, we need to figure out what game he's on tomorrow so we can monitor the broadcast, see if he brings it up.
He's probably got Injit. Their weekend
and
game.
Binghamton.
Is that who they play tomorrow?
Yeah.
They got Binghamton?
Yeah, trying to get Pat to, get back up on that horse.
Come on,
Double
man.
What's the spread?
I don't know.
I'll pull it up for you.
I'm going to guess it's certainly in double digits.
What time do they play, Conrad? Do you know?
1 p.m.
It's a 1 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can kind of wet your whistle there, Landrum.
I was about to say.
With
the
a little
pregame.
NJIT action before the
you were
Iron Bowl of basketball.
You were the test balloon there, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm staying away from.
I am the canary in the coal mine, and the canary is dead.
You said 1:30. We have got no line available right now.
Binghamton is 12-14 on the year. Do you remember what Injit's record was, Pat? Weren't they like 5-20 or something?
They were
They're 5-21 now.
Yeah, they're 5-21 now.
Okay, so there you go. The Binghamton Bearcats, I would assume, be a big favorite tomorrow.
And they're now 13-12 against the spread. They were 13-11 until last night. Amazing to think that bad of a basketball team has actually covered the spread.
Amazing to think that someone would bet on that bad of a basketball team.
I'm telling you, I'm really surprised that that company that monitors the gambling, that they didn't shut it down, because I promise you,
We had
there
all
was a lot
kinds of
people in
listeners
our
firing
listening
in.
audience. Yeah, absolutely. They said, "What is going on? Why are we getting all these from the state of Alabama?"
Yeah, we have some comments too when we get to the text line on that, and people taking your advice yesterday.
It was not my advice. It was the whole group's advice. I did not give an endorsement. Matter of fact, I went up until tip-off. I didn't know which way I was going to play. And then Conrad was the last text I saw.
Did you watch every single second of that game?
Did I?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know you did. That's great.
You should have seen the broadcast crew.
When Leanne got home, did she say, "Oh, who's playing? Wow, on a Thursday afternoon. Who is this?" Or she just learned, just don't even ask.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, a very special guest will join us here on 3-Man Front. Bob Ibach will join us. Got a special football he wants to talk about. That's next on 3-Man Front. Welcome back into Three Man Front. Pat Landrum, Molly Conrad with you until 2 o'clock. We'll take you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show. A lot of iBob of basketball talk. And speaking of Bob Ibach joins us now on the Buyers Ride Hotline. Hey, Bob, I hope you're doing well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and happy Valentine's Day to your audience. And I know they're celebrating up in Philadelphia today because a former Alabama quarterback had the greatest game of probably of his career against Kansas City in Super Bowl 59. And we wanted to reach out to you. I've been on a lot of Philadelphia stations up there this past week on this commemorative, officially licensed Super Bowl football that's celebrating the Eagles' second ever Super Bowl title. And this one's special because it was kind of led by Jalen Hurts, who many of the Bama fans remember Jalen from his quarterback days for the Crimson Tide, and he is going to be featured on one of the panels of this ball. So they wanted me to reach out and make sure that Bama fans could also get this historic Super Bowl 59 football. And in a moment, I'll give out a toll-free number and a website how you can get these. We only have about, I'm going to say somewhere between 200 and 250 of the left of the 5,000 because it's been going nuts up there. This is parade day in Philly, and the phone lines have been lit. So when I give out that phone number and website, be a little patient. You could go right to the website and easily order it there. But it's a full-size football. Let me kind of describe what it looks like. Only 5,000 will be made. It's officially licensed. It's going to help out the Eagles Autism Foundation, so they do some great work up in the Philadelphia area. These are priced at $129.95 each. You'll get a numbered certificate of authenticity. On various panels of the football, they're all embossed, and I know a lot of the Crimson Tide fans have seen these for championships that we've done with Bama over the years. It keeps it pristine looking for years to come. It's almost like getting it engraved in the various panels. And so you'll get that. The top panel will have the official Super Bowl 59 logo in there, and then championship history, stadium history for the Eagles. And then below that, we recap their entire season with all the scores of the games. But the part that's going to really interest the folks in your area and throughout the state of Alabama is that third panel, because it features a beautiful color photograph of the MVP of the Super Bowl 59. That's Jalen Hurts. And right next to that, his buddy in the backfield back there, Saquon Barkley, with his great stats from this past season. So the picture of Hurts really stands out. Everybody's been talking about just how beautiful this football looks like. And like I said, we got maybe about 200, 250 of these left if you'd like to get these. Here's the two ways you can do that, and you'll have it in time if you want to use it even for a Valentine's Day gift today, because you can go to the website that I'll give out, download the picture of the football with Jalen's photograph on it and give it to a loved one instantly and know that this football will be sent to them in about 6 or 7 weeks. The toll-free number to call to order these, again, they're $129.95. Only 5,000 of these officially licensed Super Bowl 59 footballs will ever be made with Jalen Hurts featured in one of the panels. Toll-free number, 1-800-345-2868. That's 1-800-345-2868. Or just go online to the website, NICOsports.com, NIKCOsports.com. That's NIKCOsports.com. And Nico asked me to make sure your audience knows, a couple of months ago we did a special football with Nick Saban, Coach Saban's career. Mm-hmm. And that entirely thing sold out, but they told me they had about 20 or 25 of those still left. So if you've got some folks out there that still want to get that Nick Saban football, it's almost gone. Like I said, 20 or 25 footballs left. When you call a number, you can also ask about getting that football as well.
Wow, that is fantastic. Again, the website is Nico Sports. That's NIKCO sports.com. A portion of this football that features Jalen Hurts, a portion goes to the Eagles Autism Foundation. Bob, always fun to talk to you. Look forward to our next visit. Have a great afternoon.
Well, you do the same, and I just want to say before we part, we've raised about $3.3 million for various charities, and I know we've worked with your station many, many times, so I just want to thank your audience and your staff down there for all the stuff that they've done. We've been able to raise a lot of money for good causes.
Well, listen, Bob, we appreciate that very much. Our listening audience is the best in the country. So many thanks, Bob, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, have a great day and a good afternoon, and have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Bob. That is Bob Ibach joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline for your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. You know, I was on my way home yesterday from work, and I got a call from Drew Lawley there at Courtesy GM. He said, hey, stop on by. I want you to take a look at a couple of these new vehicles we got on the lot. Also, I want to show you what kind of incredible pricing we have right now on the Sierra AT4X. This is one of the most incredible vehicles, one of the best trucks I've ever been in and around in my entire life. Front and rear electronic locking differentials, a combination not offered on any competitor in its class. And I'm talking about the Sierra AT4X. Multimatic DSSV dampers, AEV stamped steel front bumper, that's huge, with front winch capability and stamped boron steel front approach AEV skid plate. This thing is incredible. And the best part, we sat down and we looked at other local GMC dealerships online, and no one has their AT4X lower than Courtesy GMC. And I mean, no one. They even checked the Florida dealerships around GMC. Courtesy can save you thousands. That's right, thousands on the Sierra AT4X today. Other dealerships do not have the inventory as deep as Courtesy GMC. I saw it for myself. It's right there online at courtesybirmingham.com. You can compare any GMC dealership you want to. I'm here to tell you, folks, you're not going to get beat if you go to Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Thousands off MSRP, the best deals possible right there, located in Trussville off of exit 32 I-459. That's Courtesy GMC, online at courtesybirmingham.com.
We got a lot of your texts coming in. We'll get to all of those. If you would like to text the show, 205-834-9450. Also, you don't want to miss it, Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16. We've already heard from Nathan King and also from Wimp Sanderson, but we're going to get an outside perspective from Blake. He's going to join us at the top of the hour. We'll get to your text next, this Friday edition, Valentine's Day edition of Three Man Front and Jocks 94.5.
1146 Jocks 94.5. The Courtesy GMC text line is open at 205-834-9450. Phone line is open as well, 1-800-239-WJOX. And I know this morning, Valentine's Day, a lot of people, Landrum, they are chiming in on a myriad of topics, including the Iron Bowl of basketball.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you that are watching us on Jocks TV on YouTube, also those in Huntsville on the on Jocks 740 in the capital city of Montgomery and all the surrounding areas, and also the Jocks 94.5 app, where you can download the app and you can take the show anywhere you go, as many of you do throughout the course of the year, including right now my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. They are driving across the great state of Kansas. I've never been to Kansas, but I hear that the drive can be taxing, but hopefully we're keeping them entertained here on the show. Text line 205-834-9450. We've already got this bad news. You got thieves everywhere, Pat. Keller texts in, almost got scammed trying to buy tickets to the IBOB yesterday.
Oh, boy.
Will be watching from the couch while changing the rest of my passwords. Careful out there. Thank you, Keller. Pat, why are you trying to sell him some bogus tickets? John says the name should be for the game Combat at the Coliseum. Auburn by 1 on a free throw, 85-84. 3 techs, 1 flagrant during the game. Alabama will win the next game by 2 on a 3. That was very specific. Brandon says, happy opening day of college baseball, fellas. That's right. SEC getting started. Alabama's going to host Bradley, 4 o'clock. They're in Tuscaloosa. Auburn hosting Holy Cross at 6 o'clock. And I saw the video of Auburn in the recently renovated Plainsman Park. That's nice. I do have some reservations, though, Pat, about the standing concourse
on top of the short porch. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm not trying to get morbid here, but we've seen Major League Baseball parks where bad stuff has happened. Hopefully, just fans just be vigilant. I don't know why I brought that up. It's beautiful. Sure, the architect's like, yeah, thanks, man. Pat, somebody says they need a roofing repair. Any suggestions?
Abide Roofing.
There you go. Abide Roofing.
AbideRoofing.com.
More coming in. Josh says, Bama dead last in the SEC in 3-point shooting, but will somehow score enough to win. Hilarious. Thank you, Josh in Huntsville.
Sounds bitter about that.
Yeah.
He is bitter. He's bitter on that bad take. Who said that, Josh? Was that you, Conrad? You said it, didn't you?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Out of Montgomery, this text read, if either team wins by more than 10, we will have to listen to overrated and exposed/flaws on Monday. Yep. Went ahead and set that narrative up for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm trashing whoever loses on Monday. Sky is falling. They might not even make the NCAA tournament. We're going to have all the angles.
David,
do you guys really believe that, or are you just saying that tongue in cheek? Do you think people actually will say that based on the resumes of these two teams?
Yeah, because it's the rivalry and how much buildup we've got, Pat. Come on.
Not the missing the NCAA tournament part, but the sky is falling. You might get a little bit of that.
No, they finally got exposed. We've been seeing it. We've been seeing signs. I can see it. I can see how it could play out for either team when they lose, if they lose by a lot.
Yes.
David from Coleman, which is interesting. I saw the text that he sent in yesterday morning to your show, Conrad and Friends.
Thank you. Award-winning morning programming.
It's the Damian Mitchell show. Special guest Conrad.
That's right.
Yesterday, David from Coleman said 76-72 Auburn. Today, David texts in and says 88-84 Auburn.
Okay. Yeah, we've had a couple people that have revised their predictions throughout the week.
Out of the state of Texas, Bama minus 1.5, 172.5. Crazy heavy total. That is a big total.
I was about to say that would be you would need what, 88 to 85, that kind of a game to cover or to hit the over?
It's a lot of points. Alabama's comfortable with that. I don't know if Auburn would be.
Yep, that's a lot of points, though.
Justin texts in and reminds me, Landrum, don't say the B word Bucky in front of Conrad. No, Conrad's embracing it. He's driving him to dinner tonight. By the way, Bucky's married.
To not Paige, yes.
To not Paige, yes.
Yes.
This is a joke.
I was about to say, this is all a joke. Yes. My wife loves me as far as I know.
Paige revealed,
we were all
and
good.
it was a totally innocent conversation where she said, hey, there was a guy at Birmingham Southern. We used to go, when I was a kid, go watch Birmingham Southern games, and there was a guy that I had a crush on, and I think his name was Bucky. She had no idea that Bucky became a coach and is now coaching at Samford. That's the genesis of the joke, the running joke inside the show. I don't want
Correct.
anybody to get the wrong idea, especially the McMillans.
Absolutely. No, it is all tongue in cheek. It is all a joke about a little crush that my wife had when she was in elementary school. Yes, and we need to clarify this anytime we bring it up, probably. But yes, no. Bucky is all good. I'm sure he's very happy. Paige and I are very happy. We're all good. Just
now that we've put the disclaimer out there, though, that will be the last disclaimer we give. So when you tune in next week and we continue this, and Pat and I are really selling it, then let's deal with it, I guess.
I'm sure this is exactly how my wife wants to be brought up on our show on Valentine's Day.
I'm sure that is the case. Molly just stepped out, or I was going to read this one.
Do we need a female perspective on it?
No, this was just directed from Joseph. Oh, look at Molly. She comes in here.
What is that?
Bearing donuts.
All right, how many can you eat in 4 minutes?
Go.
Conrad, that's a you thing. No, Chris got me donuts.
Chris who?
Like our listener, Chris.
Oh.
Looky there. That's very nice.
Let me see what they look like.
Very cool.
Are they glazed, or did he go assorted?
They smell really good. I can't get the thing open, though.
Well, just rip open the box.
I want to rip it. Oh, they're so pretty.
Oh, my gosh.
Are they heart-shaped?
Some of them are. Look at that. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, very nice.
He said specifically, these are not for Landrum or Conrad. These are for Molly.
Don't worry.
So
I don't eat sweets.
I know you don't.
Conrad.
And
I still have
Conrad-
PTSD.
I was about to say Conrad doesn't like donuts, so it's a good day for me.
You're going to have diabetes.
I hope not.
Yeah, don't
eat
eat
them all.
12 of them in a short period of time, Molly. You will feel like you're going to pass out.
All right, so she just got that Valentine. Joseph texted in, Happy Valentine Day, Molly. I hope you have
Thanks,
a
guys.
wonderful and blessed day.
This is the best day ever.
She's wearing pink again.
I am wearing pink again for the second day in a row.
All right. 205-834-9450. 800-239-WJOX. And what would a Friday previewing the IBOB, the only number 1 versus number 2 in SEC men's basketball history we're getting tomorrow at Coleman. Don, who does not want to go to the game, has refused to go to the game, even though he was invited, and is now making a lot of noise on his phone. Hey, Don.
Hey, guys. And Molly, happy Valentine's Day, my dear.
Thank you, Don.
Is that like 10 for you now?
And everything. So you got a secret admirer that sent you some Valentine's gifts?
No, Chris sent me some. He just sent me a few donuts.
Okay. Well, hey, by the way, me and Conrad were talking, Landrum, and everything. Have you got everything for your beautiful wife for tomorrow?
Yep. I had a dozen roses and a card this morning. When she got up, we got dinner at Soho Standard tonight, and I will have her some other gifts when she gets home from work. And
there you go.
Yep.
Well, good for you, buddy. I'm proud of you, man. But I was going to tell everybody out there, if you need a last-second gift, and I did this yesterday, me and Conrad were talking, Publix has everything you need and some beautiful, beautiful flowers. So if any of you guys out there need a last-second gift, that's where I'd go. But let's talk
Publix,
a little rumble in the airport hangar, as I'm calling it, guys. Everything. And you guys have had a great analysis, and here's my breakdown. Auburn needs to force between at least 15 turnovers, score on the turnovers, and I agree with Whip and what y'all are saying, slow it down a little bit, because if that over hits at 176, then I think we might be in trouble. What do y'all think about all that?
Yeah, if it hits the over, that's what I was just saying. Alabama's comfortable going high. I mean, heck, they beat Kentucky at Rupp 102-97. Auburn, one of Auburn's higher scoring games was at Ole Miss, though. When you had Auburn scoring roughly 90-something points, Ole Miss got low 80s.
Okay, but I told Conrad and Damien this morning, I picked Auburn to win. I believe I said 76-72. That's the kind of style of game I think where you need everything. But if it gets in above 85 and everything, then I would give Alabama the advantage. I think they said the other day that all three of the losses Alabama has had, they scored under 80 points. I believe that's right.
Good stuff, Don. All right, well, go take care of your Valentine's giving.
I already did. Landrum. I gave my little female friend everything yesterday.
Oh, that's great. Well, hope everything works out for
so
you.
We're all good to go. Good to go. And everybody, y'all enjoy the game tomorrow. And to your wives that I've met before, happy Valentine's Day to them guys. Y'all have a beautiful weekend.
Hey,
But
you as
War
well.
Damn Eagles, all I got to say.
Thank you, Don. He's still calling Coleman the hanger. Alabama fan. Some taking exception. How about hating the hanger? You like that?
We got the banger and the hanger this morning.
The banger. That sounds like something you would get. Oh, never mind. Straight up 12 o'clock here on the Valentine's Day edition of Three Man Front. Molly Robinson, who would have guessed she continues to get Valentine's. You just call them Valentines. All kinds of different Valentines.
Thank you, everyone.
Well wishes on the text line. She's got assorted Krispy Kreme donuts here. A lot of thought put into those. That's not that's not 12 original glaze.
No.
You got some that
there's some
have
jelly
3 different kinds of
there's
icing.
some heart shaped. There's a chocolate one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
How many of those are you going to eat?
I don't know yet. I'm not going to pull a Conrad and eat all 12 or attempt to.
Don't do that.
No, I'm not like that.
Mm-mm. You know who else is not like that? It's Dobbs Ford. Our friends, the Goshen's, they're wonderful folks. They're on Parkway East in Birmingham. You can get into Dobbs Ford. First of all, when you get to Dobbs Ford, you're just going to see some salt of the earth people. And I wouldn't tell you that if I thought you were going to have a different experience. That would be pretty easy to tell. When you go there, though, if it's Joey, if it's Rachel, if it's Austin in the sales department, or any of the Dobbs Ford team, they're going to take care of you. It's going to be a no-pressure approach. It's not going to be hassles. They're going to be transparent, not going to hide anything. It's not going to be a bait and switch. Alabama's largest showroom selection. They'll beat any competitor's price from the F-150s, great selection of those. And check out the Dobbs edition where they've souped them up, and you want to feel really good while you're riding down the road. Get one of those. A Bronco Sport, a Mustang, an Escape, an Explorer. DobbsFordBirmingham.com. DobbsFordBirmingham.com. Check them out today. Go see and feel the difference at Dobbs Ford, and make sure you tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
Joining us now on the Buyers Right Hotline, he does each and every Friday at this time. Blake Lovell joins us from Southeastern 16. And Blake, needless to say, we're pumped up about this game at Coleman Coliseum. Love to get your angle, your view right now as we head into this game tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, it should be fun, guys. I've been thinking about donuts for the last 2 minutes now. But when you talk about this game, I think, I think when you go into it, certainly you look at these two teams and, it's the two best offensive teams in the country. I think anytime you have that kind of setup, there are just so many different ways this game can be won just based on how good these two teams have been in scoring points. And, Auburn's defense, I've said to you guys many times, I don't think it's gotten enough credit. Now I think it's certainly getting there. In terms of being a top 20 defensive team in the country, I think Alabama's defense certainly better than it was last year. And sure, there's still some times where you may look at it and want them to be a little more consistent. But I think for now, though, there are a lot of different, angles to as to who wins here. But I think it comes down to really, the thing is when Alabama plays an Alabama-type game, there's no one in the country better than them at Alabama's game. And I think that's really for Auburn. You have to find a way to slow them down in transition. You have to try to do what you can to make this not necessarily a low possession game, but, not in that 80s type tier or something like that. Because I think if you get to that point, we know Auburn's, still ranked as the number one best offensive team, but I think it's the way Alabama gets there, can be tough when you're trying to defend a team like that for 40 minutes. And so I think that's a big key for Auburn, just maybe try to make this a little bit of a grind at times. Not to say Auburn can't run up and down the floor too, but then on the other side, honestly, guys, I think it's for Alabama. You just got to force these guards for Auburn to make tough shots, and shot selection something we talked about a lot this season. If there's really no weaknesses with this Auburn team, in my opinion, but that is something where if you put them in those kind of positions where it's a tough atmosphere, you have them forcing some shots maybe on the perimeter. That's a much better option than just throwing the ball down to Janai Broome, having to double team him, and then kicking it to somebody else for a wide open shot. So, yeah, there's so many ways you go with this thing, but that's what makes it fun. That's why it's number one versus number two.
If Auburn was to win in Tuscaloosa tomorrow, what offensive stat line, when we look at team stats at the end of the game, do you believe that will stick out the most?
That's an interesting one because I think when you look at it, we know some things that Auburn is good at, and if you expected it to be a road game, right, you're just going to assume you're not going to shoot the ball as well sometimes on the road than you do at home. Now, that's not the case for everybody, but I think sometimes you kind of know that going in, that can be something that it sort of stands out. So I think for Auburn, you've got to get those offensive rebounds. I feel like those second chance opportunities in a game like this because – two, if you get those second chance opportunities, let's say you have an offensive possession for 25 seconds and you get an offensive rebound and then you get another offensive possession for 20 seconds. Well, what does that do at the same time? That also limits the amount of possessions that Alabama is going to get because, there's more time running off the clock and all that. And again, I keep saying this within the context of knowing that Auburn is still the best offensive team in the country. And you're like, well, if there's anybody who can win a 95-93 type game against Alabama, it's probably Auburn. But again, I think it's just a difference in how they want to play. And I feel like if you're Auburn, getting some extra looks on the offensive boards is going to be crucial here. I think through conference play so far, Auburn's the fourth best offensive rebounding team. I think Alabama's sixth in terms of defending the offensive boards. So that's one of those stat lines I feel like that's really going to stand out. And I also think it's this too, guys. Like there's one more. I think it's just forcing the turnovers, right? I mean, if there's one sample size we have, and it's one game, when Ole Miss came in there and beat Alabama, it was all about forcing turnovers. And so Auburn's been pretty good at that too. So I feel like it's get those second looks on the offensive glass, force turnovers. I feel like those are certainly the two biggest keys here.
One thing's for sure, you just said it. This is obviously just one game in a very long SEC season. They're going to play again at the end of the year. But what kind of message does that send to the rest of the conference if Alabama or Auburn, whoever becomes victorious tomorrow afternoon, does it send a message, or is it just the fact that these are two of the top teams in the conference, and that's probably going to be the way it's going to be after 18 games, and this is just the next game on the schedule, so to speak.
Yeah, like you said, I think when you just look at just what these two have established, just from a body of work standpoint, I mean, I think it's, again, no matter who wins this game, I think it's pretty established. I mean, I say that. I think Florida's got a great case right now to be right there in the same conversation with these two teams. I don't know that I put anybody else in there at the moment. Maybe you put, again, A&M and Tennessee and teams like that a little bit behind Missouri. But I think overall, like, it is pretty established. It feels like these are two of the top three teams in the SEC. No matter who wins, am I going to be stunned if we come out of this, completely changing our opinion on one of these teams? Yes, because I just don't expect that to happen. I feel like this is just one of those games where, again, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. I don't think you're going to come out of this just feeling like one of these teams is in a bad spot just because of the body of work they built at this point. And, that goes back to no matter what happens here, these are still going to be the number 1 overall seed and the number 2 overall seed in the NCAA tournament will be coming out of this game. And so I think it does kind of show you that, look, in a league like this year where the SEC is historically good, these have been the 2 best teams to this point. And, hey, if Auburn goes in and gets a road win in Alabama, that's just that's quad win number 14 for Auburn. If Alabama beats Auburn at home, then all of a sudden, maybe we're saying, all right, maybe Alabama's the national title favorite. And everybody else is looking at this thinking, yep, that's what these 2 programs and kind of coaches have done to this point to make it this big of a game. And again, for whoever wins, that more significant of a victory.
Along those lines, Blake, when you look at these 2 teams' respective schedules down the stretch in conference play before we get to Nashville for the conference tournament, who do you think this game is more important for? I know it seems like kind of an impossible question, but down the stretch, who can afford to maybe drop this one, but still be talking championship at the end of the season based on the schedule?
Yeah, hide your eyes if you're an Alabama fan because I think they have the toughest remaining schedule of anybody in the country, and I don't really think there's much of a doubt about that when you consider that, 3 road games left at Missouri, at Tennessee, at Auburn, and then the home games against Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Florida. I mean, that is just it's a brutal stretch. And so I think Alabama has the toughest remaining schedule of the 2. But then I think if you look at like ESPN's BPI rankings or whatever, and they rank the toughest schedules left, Auburn has the 7th toughest schedule in the country remaining. And I think that's actually 4th or 5th in the SEC, which of course, you look at some of the games they have left. And the good thing for Auburn, right, is that they get one of those nice 3-game home stands. And I think you just don't get a lot of those in the schedule. You're going to get one of those a season maybe. And so the fact that they get Arkansas, Georgia, Ole Miss all at home, and sure, to get the rematch against Alabama at home, I think it's pretty clear that Alabama has the toughest schedule. So maybe it does make it a little bit more crucial here for the Tide to win this game at home, knowing you still have to travel, to Neville Arena, and just the other games in between that could be kind of tough to navigate. Even as good as Alabama's been, we've said it all year, right? I mean, it's just teams that are great, teams that might wind up being the top 2 seeds in the NCAA tournament. They're going to lose games somewhere, and we've kind of reached that point in the season where you're not surprised if it happens just based on how good some of these other SEC teams have been.
Blake Lovell joins us from Southeastern 16 on the Buyers Right Line hotline here on 3-Man Front. I agree with you 100% about Florida being in that same conversation with an Alabama and Auburn, but I do want to ask you about Tennessee because there's no Dalton Connect on the sideline for Tennessee, and they have had too many games and too many opportunities to where they just can't muster enough offense. Their defense is top notch, but once again, where are they going to find that offense? So where's Tennessee right now in your mind in regards to them moving forward?
Yeah, here's what I think we've seen with Tennessee that I don't think we've seen with Alabama, Auburn, or maybe even Florida to this point. And I think it's sort of a clearly defined bad matchup. Whereas, it feels like, at least right now, like Auburn, Alabama, and Florida are kind of matchup proof when you consider the results of their games. Again, we go back to Alabama having that just sort of head-scratching game at home against Ole Miss, and you could say, all right, maybe a team with older guards that can force turnovers, that may be the kryptonite for Alabama. But I'm not completely buying that just yet because it's one game, right? And again, like with Auburn, there's been no sort of trend to believe that to be the case. Even with Florida, they've had one bad game all season. But I think when you look at it for Tennessee, the 2 losses to Kentucky, kind of some things stand out there. And I think it really just comes down to the percentages, right? I mean, you look at what they shot from three. They go 11 of 45 in that first game against Kentucky. And then what do? They come out and go 3 of 18. So it's almost like they completely sort of overcorrected to try to fix the thing. Like, all right, there's no chance we're going to shoot 45 threes. But then it's almost like, okay, well, let's only shoot 18. We're only going to make 3 of them. Our best shooter is going to go 0 of 7. And we just have no offense to be able to sustain sort of what we need to sustain to win a game like that on the road. So I think with Tennessee, and remember too, Kentucky this season in 2 regular season games, Kentucky went 24 of 48 from 3 against Tennessee for a nice 50%. Tennessee's a top 3 team in the country in 3-point defense. So I think if you look at it from that standpoint, I don't trust their offense as much as I did 2 months ago. I think their defense at times, if they get the wrong matchup against one of those teams like that just can knock down threes the way Kentucky can, which granted, there's not a lot of those teams out there necessarily, but it's just a bad formula because I don't think I like Tennessee in a scenario where they have to play catch up. Because if you're forcing Tennessee to catch up in a game, that means they probably have to make jump shots from outside. And again, consistently, I just don't think they've been good at that, even with Chaz Lanier. So I don't put Tennessee in that same category as those other 3 teams right now. I think they've moved a little bit behind them. I don't know that I would even say maybe an A&M has jumped to Tennessee, but I think you could make that argument a little bit just because those trust issues are kind of back with the Tennessee offense. And, you know, we didn't really have a lot of that last year with Dalton Connect, but it seems like some of that's back this year.
Not that we want to hit the panic button, but Mississippi State, this is a team that we were very impressed with. And I realize the schedule is what it is, and you play that grind and you're going to run into tough opponents. Love their effort. Thought it was a fantastic performance that they had against Alabama, but then you see them just kind of fading at times. I mentioned the Missouri game when you get beat by almost 30 points, but other games. Is this a team you've kind of got your eye on? Because it just feels like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like Mississippi State is fading.
Yeah, they're not, I think, heading in the right direction. And like you said, I mean, how often have we seen over the years, even Mississippi State's maybe been, not necessarily an NCAA tournament team. It's not often we see them play back-to-back games at the hump. So they lose by 27, and don't let the 13-point home loss to Florida fool anyone. Like they were just dominated in that game. Florida was in complete control. And so that's not often we see that from them. And I think that's the more concerning thing. It's like, hey, it'd be one thing if you lost to, at home to Missouri by 10. Missouri's a great team. Florida's a great team. But I just think it's the way they're playing right now. And, I mean, I keep bringing up the stat. One of the wildest stats this year, if you had to predict the stat and say this team is going to finish in the 300s in 3-point percentage. When you think about the way Mississippi State has played defense in the Chris Jans era, specifically you go back to last year, even the year before, right? The year before they were a top 10 defensive team. They are allowing opponents to shoot 36% from 3, which is 305th nationally. And you look at all the games that they've lost this season. I mean, they have given up like 12, 16, 10, 10, 15, 15, 14 from 3, makes that is. And I think that's just something where if you look at their remaining schedule, you still got Alabama. Now, the good thing maybe for them is that they're going to play some teams that are not so great shooting the 3. Not going to happen on Saturday. Ole Miss is pretty good there. Alabama's good, as we know. But some of these other teams like Oklahoma, teams like that, Arkansas, those aren't great shooting teams. So maybe that sort of evens out a little bit. But I'm telling you, like this team went from legitimately probably, 3.5 weeks ago, we're saying, hey, don't look now. Mississippi State might have like a 3 seed, maybe even a 2 seed as best case scenario type resume. Now I think you're looking at a team that's really in the dangerous spot of trying to maybe get out of that 8-9 game, which you just don't want any part of. So they've got a tough schedule the rest of the way too. It's not going to be easy. 3 of their next 4 on the road. It just doesn't feel like Mississippi State's in a great spot right now.
So a lot of bracketologists this week, they have been upping the number of teams in the Southeastern Conference that's going to play in March Madness. Where's the sweet spot for you right now? Is it still at 12, or do you believe that the SEC, when it's all said and done, can get 14?
Yeah, I honestly think it's more realistic that the SEC is going to get 11 than it is 14. And I think why is because that group of 5, which I keep, and unfortunately, we may have to throw Mississippi State in there at some point. I think they're going to be fine, but they're not in that just yet. But the group of 5 of Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Texas, Georgia, and Oklahoma, I mean, the good thing is that some of those teams still have to play each other, which means somebody's got to win, which also means that because you're playing these teams in the SEC this year, it's going to be a quality win, no matter who it is. But some of those teams are going to lose those games, and they're also going to lose games against the upper tier teams that they still have on their schedule the rest of the way. So of that group of 5, the real question I think it comes down to is, there's 9 teams, I guess, outside of that group that we think are pretty much locks. Like I said, Mississippi State, I think, is still there. I think they'll be all right, but you never know. But of that group, how many are going to make it? I think at most 3 are making it. I don't think there's any scenario where 4 of those make it. Again, and maybe the more likelihood is that only 2 of them make it. Like it's a very tricky kind of slippery slope here for some of these teams, right? And honestly, if I had to rank them right now, maybe it just makes sense from the mathematical standpoint. I think Vanderbilt, even with maybe the second toughest schedule left in the SEC, I think they're still going to find enough to get there. They probably only need 2 more wins. I think Arkansas now all of a sudden becomes maybe the second most confident team, which I never would have thought I'd said that a month ago. But I think the way they're playing, they're going to find enough wins. I have no idea what to expect from Texas, Oklahoma, or Georgia the rest of the way. And honestly, I think Georgia and Oklahoma have a much better chance of being left out than making it at this point. I don't know what to do with Texas. So if we do that math, that probably, again, at best gets the SEC to 12, just because, all these different combinations of wins and losses you're going to have. Now, I will say this quickly, though, guys. Remember, with that added full day of the SEC tournament now, the Wednesday, full slate where you get 4 games. If you were to finish 12 or 13 in the SEC this year, let's say you are a Texas and a Georgia playing in the 12-13 game. That's great because that's a much better setup than, let's say, a Vanderbilt at 10 playing an LSU at 15, because the Vanderbilt win does nothing for them. But the Texas-Georgia game in the 12-13 might actually do way more for you and put you into the NCAA tournament, whereas before you may not have had games like that. So I think that's the difference. We can't discount the idea that the SEC tournament is going to help one of these teams. It usually doesn't, it seems like, with the committee, but I think this year it will by having that full extra day on Wednesday.
Something that's trending right now, I don't think we've ever talked uniforms on the show. I hope you've seen it, or maybe I hope you haven't. Texas A&M, what Adidas has done to them is absolutely criminal. This uniform that they are, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's the worst college basketball uniform I think I've ever seen.
I saw this. It is atrocious. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it is, you can't even explain it really without seeing it, right? Like, it's one where you have the Adidas logo, you have the number is like halfway down, but it's on the right. Meanwhile, you've got the Texas A&M T that's halfway up on the left. It just, especially for someone like, I like some symmetry.
I do too, man. This is driving me nuts.
Opposite, guys. It's terrible. So, yeah, it's not good. Take Arkansas on Saturday.
Yeah, fade Texas A&M. How can you play well in that?
Well, I mean, I hate to tell both of you guys, but obviously it's an Adidas thing, because if you would have seen what Nebraska was wearing last night against Maryland,
that was trash too.
It's the exact same thing. It's just they had an N on the side and their number down low like that. I mean, yeah, that's not even a good intramural basketball jersey.
Do you guys remember when the Evansville Aces used to wear the jerseys with the sleeves?
Absolutely.
But they didn't look as bad as this.
I'd rather see that.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than what A&M's wearing tomorrow. So
it's terrible. Blake, we always appreciate the time. Great stuff as always. Tell people how they can tune in for your instant reaction tomorrow after some of these games have wrapped up.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, find us Southeastern 16 on YouTube. We'll be doing a live reaction, tomorrow, right after the Alabama-Auburn game, of course. Of course, for our members, we'll be doing a watch-along during the game, so you can check us out there and watch the game with us if you'd like. But, yeah, everything else, follow me on Twitter at @BlakeLevel.
Blake, we always appreciate the time. Thank you. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Blake Lovell, one of our resident basketball analysts, joining us on Three Man Front of the Buyers Right Hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
We just tweeted out the picture at 3 Man Front. So if you follow us on Twitter at the number 3 Man Front, you can take a look at all of its glory of Texas A&M's jersey. Let us know what you think. It is something else.
I don't think I'd wear that just vegging out watching TV at my house.
Well, Pat said it best. It's not even a you would get laughed at if that was your intramural basketball jersey.
Yes.
It's terrible.
It is awful. It's
I
the
wouldn't
worst basketball
practice
jersey
in
I've ever
that.
seen. No, it's awful.
The only thing that would have been worse if the Merry Milkman was wearing it.
Well, it looks like the Merry Milkman designed it.
I was about to say, by the color scheme, it looks like they just kind of had some old milk poured all over.
Is there a
them.
rule where you can't wear pants in college basketball? Because I feel like that's coming next from our friends at Adidas.
Well, I mean, I don't know why you couldn't, because most of them wear, the under
the compression
short
sleeves? Yeah,
compressions all the way down to your ankles anyway. You know what I'm saying?
it's a good point.
So,
Come on, Adidas, outdo yourself.
I like the bell bottom sweatpants. I think they should break those out.
I'm quote tweeting this. I can't find the vomit emoji. I think I got to update this computer in here. Oh, there it is.
We appreciate Blake Lovell joining us here on Three Man Front. When we come back, we'll listen to a little what Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates has to say as they get ready for tomorrow's big game at 3 o'clock at Coleman Coliseum. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5.
$12.25. Blake Lovell, always great stuff with Blake, talking not only about the IBOB tomorrow, but also the rest of the SEC slate, tournament projections, where things stand now, who's trending up, who's trending down, and Texas A&M's awful uniforms that Adidas has provided them. My question is, if you're Buzz Williams, I know that you have a contract with an apparel company. Can you say no?
I guess not. I guess we got the answer to that because surely someone would have said no. And that's what I was thinking in the break. Whatever. I guess it got cleared at Adidas, but is there not someone at Texas A&M that gets to agree with, hey, these are the designs, these are the mock-ups of what we're going to give you guys. What do you think of them? Is there anything you would like changed about them? But I guess maybe Adidas just designs them and ships them over there and they put them on.
Well, and it's the gray color and it's muted. There's just not a whole lot there.
It's just plain.
Yeah, it looks like something a European indoor volleyball team would have worn maybe back in the, I don't even know, 80s.
Yeah, it's a choice was made. I'll just put it that way by the designer or whoever approved the design. A choice was made, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to look at that tomorrow. I do want to remind you real quick. Wallace State men's basketball over last night. They defeated Shelton to remain in first place in the ACCC standings. So some more good basketball being played here in the state of Alabama. The ladies team unfortunately fell in their game against Shelton State, but both teams will host Bishop State this Sunday in a men's and women's doubleheader. First tip is going to be at 2 p.m. up there in Drake Coliseum in Hanceville. For more information on the Wallace State Lions athletics, go hit them up online at athletics.wallacestate.edu.
Landrum, check your text message. I just sent you something. Take a look at two other examples of part of the Adidas family of jerseys.
Okay, Iowa State and Indiana's.
That's Louisville.
Or Louisville. It kind of looks like Maryland, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Pat. Again, at least you've got bold colors there. And you got a pretty cool logo with the Louisville one and some stuff going down the sides. Texas A&M, it looks like you forgot to get a costume and you had a wife beater, which I don't even know if you're supposed to say that anymore, but a white T-shirt that you wear as an undershirt, and you took a magic marker before you went to the party and just tried to create something.
The Louisville one looks way better than the others just because it does have like a fun logo. Yeah. It's something different about it, right? Whereas, and at least with IU, right, you have the Indiana logo. For the life of me, why do you just have the Texas A&M? You have the T and not the actual logo or, a mascot, logo, something like that. It's just kind of bizarre. Or at least if you're going to do, maybe do like a diagonal Texas A&M, something.
Or behind the T, have a little caricature of a merry milkman just going, hey.
Something.
Like a little peekaboo. Hey.
That's right. They could have had the fountain with all the milkmen doing their dance and that, something like that. But it's bad.
Check it out at the number 3 man front on Twitter, where we've sent that out so you can be disgusted while you eat your lunch.
It's just, oh man, it's not good.
I'm not overplaying this. It's terrible. I'm glad Blake had seen it, and he's seen a lot of basketball, and he immediately said it's the worst he's ever seen.
Yep. Like I said, it's those Adidas schools, whether you're Nebraska or Louisville, Texas A&M, they're awful.
If you buy into the whole look good to play good philosophy, I guess you're going to fade Texas A&M tomorrow.
Definitely. Yep. I can't bet on a team that looks that bad. I'm not going to bet tomorrow anyways. Let's go to Chris. Chris, welcome in.
How's it going, guys?
Doing well. How are you?
That's all, Doug. I'm like, can you feel alive tonight? How you doing on Vita, everybody? I had to give Mata a little something sweet. She was sweet enough not to mock me on like the co-workers of this shit, of Amanda.
Well, thank you, Chris.
No problem. You have a good Valentine's Day, Molly.
She's already eaten all the donuts, Chris.
No, I have not. That's Conrad.
And it's up to you if you decide you wanna disperse your blessings to everybody else because you're probably sweet like that. Me, I'm not. I wouldn't be as nice, but it's up to you. Maybe for me to get not Mata, I might need to be a bit controversial and make wild, crazy statements like I'm damn hater or Golden Dome or sometimes, and I get a wild statement. You know what? Bama by 35. Give me Bama 83
Okay.
to name the score underneath Auburn. There's a home hard-head advantage, baby, in Coleman.
35.
Damn time, baby.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. And we got a lot to talk about on Monday if it's 35, either side.
See, and I don't want that. And I had somebody, this morning on Morning Jocks, because I said, look, obviously I want Alabama to win, but I just want a great basketball game, right? If it comes down to the final possession or the final 30 seconds, I'm going to be happy either way. And it's, somebody's like, oh, you don't really mean that. No, I truly do. Obviously, I have a lean in who I want to win the basketball game, but I do not want to see a blowout on one side or the other because we have hyped this up so much, and this is the most anticipated regular season SEC basketball game that I can remember in my lifetime. I want a good basketball game. I hope Alabama wins, but I don't want Alabama to go out there and win by 30. That's not going to be very entertaining.
No. Hopefully we don't get that.
No, hopefully not.
But if you're gonna do it in the first half, and I'll find something else to do in the second half.
Oh, there you go.
It's gonna be a pretty
play
day.
that
In
live
the
line.
suspense.
Yeah, that's right. I got a busy day planned tomorrow.
I got dinner reservations at 5:30, so I hope, like Pat said, it's not a 3-hour.
Oh, tomorrow night.
Game.
That's right. You're doing the day after.
Yeah, because Paige has to work and she didn't want to go tonight because she gets off work kind of late. So yeah, I need that game to be over in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. That would be great, but that's not going to happen.
All right. Well, we continue here on this Friday edition of Three Man Front. We got other guests going to be joining us. Rocco Miller, the bracketeer, resident bracketologist. He's the best in the business at predicting the field, what line they're going to be on, winners, losers, all of that. You don't want to miss it at 1. We continue Valentine's Day. It's a Friday, Three Man Front, and we are Jocks 94.5.
It is 12:36 on this Valentine's Day. We'll have a special Valentine's Day edition of Pat Ponders coming up in just a couple minutes. You know, water can find its way into a crawl space if you're a homeowner, and we've got some heavy rains coming in over the next night or two. It can bring dangerous mold, mildew, and wood rot into your home, but APS can help protect your home's foundation today. Call them at 205-951-9717. The APS crawl space encapsulation system. It can stop water, keep pests out, while lowering your energy costs all at the same time. Get one of the APS engineers to come to your house and do it free of charge, and they can take a look if there's any issues, and they can provide you a plan moving forward at 205-951-9717 or go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com. It is Valentine's Day. I do have some questions, a few Valentine's Day questions.
I hope we love them.
This is Pat Ponders. Brought to you each and every day by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Incredible deals right now. Go by there and see them. Exit 32 off of I-459 Edwards Lake Road, or visit their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com. Question number 1. In a perfect world, what would be the ideal Valentine's Day gift-giving protocol? Going to give you some options. He gifts her. She gifts him. Both gift each other, or neither give gifts.
They both give each other a gift.
Both gift each other.
Yeah, I don't know where, and I know it's not everybody, but where this thought or train of thought came out, where it's just on the guy's side, and I think it's important, but. What if I don't need to say that.
I think you should.
No, not going to.
Say it. Say it.
No, but it takes two to tango, so why should...
Well, and that's why, I agree with you.
I like to be loved every now and then.
Exactly. I think it should go...
Show an appreciation.
Both ways, in the sense, like you're saying, either you both give each other a gift, or you agree that you're just not going to do gifts. And not in the trap sense of, oh no, I don't want anything, and then you don't get each other anything, and then one person gets mad because it's like, well, I thought you were still going to get me something as a surprise.
Right.
It should be, both ways. Either you're both giving each other a gift, or you both decide not to do a gift. Like, for example, me and Paige, we don't do Valentine's Day gifts. We go out to dinner together, or something like that. We do something together, and that is our Valentine's gift for each other. Now, granted, I got her a bouquet of flowers, something small.
Yeah.
But that's just hey, I love you. You're my wife. I appreciate you. And I want you to feel special on this day. So I think that if you can work it out that way, that's the way that it should be.
See, I agree. I think you either both did the gift or neither one, because I'm with you. I don't like that trap situation. But like, if you don't do gifts and you just go to dinner, like, flowers is nice because it's a small gesture.
Well, see, and mine doesn't, I don't need anything that came from a store. If it's just something nice and thoughtful. I know some people say that because it sounds like the right thing to say, but no, surprise me with something. That's great.
It is actually the thought that counts in this scenario.
Yes.
It is.
And I told Conrad, and this is not me beating my own chest, my wife, one of, I guess, and probably with a lot of people, she loves to receive gifts. And in turn, I love to give her gifts and see her get excited and really appreciate those gifts. That makes me feel really good. So I guess it works out perfectly. But no, I'd like just a little something.
What about you,
All right,
Pat?
question number 2.
Yeah, Pat.
Yeah, Pat, how
I
do you
think
feel?
both gifts should be given. Both.
We're all in agreement. Look at that.
Yeah.
Rare.
All right, question number 2. What's your favorite Valentine's Day candy or treat? So, see, I said treat, Landrum, so I know you don't like candy unless it's
Me and
Sweet
Landrum are
Tarts,
going to have the
but-
same one. I
Yeah, we
bet.
do sweet tarts.
Yeah, the
You know,
heart-shaped
sweet tarts. Yeah.
Those are the best.
I know, Conrad, you can't have these, but I like the Reese's, like the heart ones.
Oh, the Reese cups. They got more
Yeah.
peanut butter in them.
Yeah, they're like shaped as a heart. And then Easter, they do like the egg.
They do the eggs.
Christmas,
they do the trees.
tree. Yeah.
They also do
The pumpkin?
the bats. They have the bats too at
Oh,
Halloween.
I haven't seen the bats.
Did y'all ever like the they're not sweet tarts, but you know the heart-shaped candies that have like a little message written on them?
No, I did not.
Did y'all ever like those? I think they taste
No.
terrible.
No, and they
What
got
are
that
they,
chalky. They got that
conversation
chalky residue on them
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah. Not a big
I
fan.
never understood why those were popular. They're disgusting.
because they were cheap and they came in a little
Yeah,
And they're cute, like
a
Be
playing
Mine.
card box.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Be Mine.
that was a sell on those as the little messages.
Yeah, the messages.
I'm
Question
smitten
number
with
3.
you. Still using that.
If you could plan the perfect Valentine's Day getaway, where would you go?
If I had unlimited resources, because I've never been there, and it is known as a city of love, or used to be anyways, I would get on our private jet. We would fly to Paris. We'd have some lunch at a bistro.
Aw.
Maybe take in some art. Maybe swim in the poop river.
Ah, yes.
Huh? Nothing says love like a little, little
River sim?
vomiting and explosive diarrhea.
Ugh.
No, I think Paris, France, though, would be great.
That would
Not
be
Paris, Texas.
I was going to ask to make sure
That's why I
we were talking about the
clarified.
right one.
That's
yeah,
right.
good job.
You don't want to go to Beebs' Ranch? Is that what you're saying?
Not on Valentine's.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously, like Landrum said, if resources are not an obstacle and you can go anywhere, you know, I'd want to go somewhere like Bora Bora or somewhere you can have a little hut on the
Yeah.
beach or, you know, something like that. It's warm, especially now, you know, because it's February, it's a little cooler out. So, yeah, go somewhere warm, just have a place to yourself. That would obviously be like the dream scenario, but even something, you know, I guess what we consider more realistic. You know, I don't know, going like a weekend getaway somewhere like a Charleston or somewhere like that, just like a kind of a cute little town you can walk around, check out local places.
What
to
about
eat, have
Virginia?
stuff going
Is there
on.
saying still Virginia is for lovers?
Is that the
It
same?
is, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick with Charleston. Thank you very much.
See, I would go either extreme. I would either pick a beach, like a reasonable beach, not like Bora Bora, or I love the mountains and I love skiing. And with
Yep.
it being February,
Yep.
that would
Cold,
like Aspen
crackling
or
fire.
Vail or like Park City, Utah. That
Crackling
would be
fire.
my dream.
Animal,
hot cocoa.
animal pelt rug.
Yeah. Some like worn socks.
Yeah.
Well, Conrad wouldn't wear socks, but if he were to go.
Well, if it's under 40 degrees, I'd have to.
He dresses up when he goes on vacation. Deodorant, wash his hair, socks. What about you, Pat?
I would love one day to try to go to Venice, Italy.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Tempe.
And I've already been there.
No, okay.
Yeah.
In his younger
How about
days, he'd have
Langston?
been.
I'd head to the European continent.
Venice is beautiful. So is Paris.
Venice is where they have the gondolas, right? The
Mhm.
boat and all. Okay, yeah.
Very fun.
Don't get in that water either.
No.
Molly's like, no.
All right, next question. Are you more likely to watch the Daytona 500 or the NBA All-Star game this Sunday?
That's a fantastic
That is
question.
an unfair question. I got to pick one. I guess I'll say Daytona because that thing lasts forever and I will stumble upon a lap maybe.
I'm going to be honest. So Damien reminded me a couple of days ago. He said, man, did you know the NBA All-Star game was this week? And I said, I'll be honest. I did not know. I then forgot about it again. Pat just brought it up, and I now remember again that the NBA All-Star game is this weekend.
I would rather watch a documentary on the making of Texas A&M's awful uniforms they're going to be wearing.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never been a big NASCAR guy, but I would be more inclined to watch the Daytona 500 than the NBA All-Star game. All-Star games in general at this point have just...
If Caitlin Clark would have been competing in the three-point shooting contest,
See, if I was going
I
to watch
would've watched
anything,
that.
yes, and still without
Yeah.
her, I would rather watch that than the actual All-Star game, probably.
I guess the Daytona 500. I don't know. There's some fun people that go. It's fun to people watch.
you're trying to sell it, Molly. Molly just lost like color in her face. Looked like she was getting physically
Yeah.
ill.
Ugh.
Pat, you're going to go Daytona?
Correct.
All-Star games are just tough.
They are. I can't do it.
Major League Baseball, it's hands down the best.
You don't like when it's 197 to 180?
They still have the stupid half-court They do all that crazy stuff. I guess it's not stupid. It's
Oh,
more
the rule
interesting
changes
than-
they did to increase the scoring? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No defense played whatsoever.
Oh, what's new?
It's awful.
All right, final question of the week. Do you believe the rumor/report yesterday that Pittsburgh called the Jacksonville Jags about acquiring Jags QB Trevor Lawrence?
I 100% believe they did that, and I 100% believe that the Jaguars either laughed and hung up the phone, or maybe it was more cordial than that. But yeah, I mean, kick the tires. All they can do is say no. But
I'm with you. I think they called, but then just hung up the phone.
No, I agree.
that would be
Pittsburgh needs a quarterback.
That would be something.
Could you imagine?
That would be something.
Yeah, I can, because it seems like we've seen a lot of other guys.
Oh,
That long hair blowing in the December snow up there at Heinz Field, or it's not Heinz Field anymore, is it? Whatever
No,
it is.
it's an insurance company.
Yeah, whatever it is
it's a
now.
different one.
Paid a lot of money for those naming rights that we don't remember.
That's
Yeah.
That's right.
It's a lot easier when it was Heinz.
I was about to say we all remembered that one, but that talk about a blockbuster trade if that were to happen.
Acrisure?
Yeah.
Something
Sure.
like- yeah. Okay.
Sure.
I'm still gonna call it the other one.
Yeah,
but
no,
that's
same.
okay.
Call it Heinz.
That's right.
That's this week's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Visit their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com.
Good stuff coming in on the text line. We'll get to those texts once again. Reminder, Rocco Miller, our resident bracketologist, joining us at 1. You don't want to miss Rocco's visit. It's always a good one. 3-man front on Valentine's Day. We are Jocks 94.5.
12:51 on this Valentine's Day. Thanks for tuning us in. Great radio stations like Huntsville's UMP down in the capital city of Montgomery, Jocks 740 here on Jocks 94.5 throughout central Alabama. You can hear the Alabama-Auburn game tomorrow right here on Jocks 94.5. That is the Auburn broadcast coming to you via the Auburn network here on Jocks 94.5.
Well, and if you want a refreshing beverage to enjoy while you're watching or listening to the Iron Bowl of basketball tomorrow, look no further than Easy Hemp Co. Easy is a refreshing new beverage that's reliably microdosed with 3 milligrams of D9 THC and 3 milligrams of CBD per serving. It's also non-alcoholic, and the best part of all, there's none of those added sugars, nothing that's going to give you those day after hangover effects, so you can enjoy it during the game tomorrow and wake up on Sunday 100% ready to go. Easy Hemp Co. is based right here in Birmingham, Alabama. And if you're looking for a social buzz that comes with no regrets, look no further. Easy Hemp Co. is available at Piggly Wigglies across the state, or you can visit them online at easyhempco.com to have it shipped directly to your doorstep, or use their Easy Finder map to find a location near you.
Our text line is wide open, brought to you by Courtesy GMC, 205-834-9450 on this Valentine's Day.
Yep, and we will get you there now. This one rolling in, one of the questions we got from Pat Ponders just a moment ago. By the way, if you missed that, you can find it there at the 3-Man Front Podcast at JocksFM.com. This one reads, don't laugh. The Jaguars may decide that Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. Anyone?
No.
Anyone?
I wish I could say that was true, but it is not. He's a lot cheaper than Trevor Lawrence, though.
Here's our buddy from Florida that took your advice, Pat, on NJIT yesterday. Apparently, Vegas heard that Pat was thinking about Injit and felt sorry for him. I got in early at 16.5. Tried to bail as well, but never did. I'm betting them tomorrow, maybe 13-12 against the spread for a 5-21 team. Ain't bad. Pat, you got any more obscure winners tonight? Mount Mary, maybe?
No, I do not.
I did see Monmouth won last night. That was big.
Monmouth.
Huge.
When do they
Big
play
win.
Edmonton Institute?
That'll be in the conference tournament.
Oh, gotcha.
What was the other one you came up with, Molly? That Conrad probably likes?
Oh, Ottawa. Yeah.
Ottawa.
Ottawa.
I was about to say Duquesne's in there as well.
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Toronto.
Yeah. Vancouver.
No, that's Toronto.
Oh, you're right. Toronto. My bad. I couldn't remember how you said it.
Josh in Huntsville says he'd rather watch Jeff Sims highlights than watch the All-Star game.
That's good.
That is
That was good.
At least you can laugh at those.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So I guess y'all don't know the NBA All-Star Game is not a game now. It's a tournament. You have 4 teams, and they're going to be a tournament to 2 winners play each other. The first one to 40 is the champ.
I'm even less interested than I was before.
That tells you how bad the NBA All-Star Game has become. Now we've got a tournament. Ideal destinations for Valentine's. This one reads, Floribama Valentine's is romantic as hell.
I like it. Be a good place to spend Valentine's Day.
I love our historians. This one from Montgomery. Thanks for listening on Sports Radio 740. Valentine's Day originated in ancient Rome. Men would sacrifice different animals and then beat the woman with skins.
Okay.
Wow.
Whatever you're into.
I'm glad we're not doing that anymore.
I don't condone that.
Safe to say the holiday has come a long way since its inception.
Yeah.
I think it's better now. For $1 million, I would have never been able to tell you that that was the beginning of
Me neither.
Valentine's Day.
Stay still, honey. Tell me how this chinchilla feels.
So how did we get from that to Cupid? I have so many questions.
It feels like animal skins are better than getting shot with an arrow. Hey, Paris, Texas isn't bad. Home of Jean's Ranch. Oh, I know. I just said not for Valentine's Day. Did YouTube get right with Paramount to keep CBS, Pat? That's what one of our texters wants to know.
They agreed to temporarily suspend that, I guess, that deadline that they had. So they're going to keep talking.
Oh, Hastings just sent a picture from his countertop, and it's two $20 bills, and there's a sticky note that says "for flowers," smiley face. So I'm guessing we got to have a follow-up. Hastings, did you leave those for your wife to buy her own flowers, or did she leave you the money with a reminder that you should buy her flowers? You have not been married that long.
I was about to say, that's got to be a reminder from her, which, hey, props to her.
You
She
might be
wants
hanging
the
out with
flowers.
Don tonight, Hastings. Oh, and BB, I got to read it. BB here. Looks like the Texas jersey was designed by a DEI hire.
We have great listeners.
Hour number 4 is next. One o'clock here on Three Man Front. We do have Rocco Miller, bracketeer.org, our resident bracketologist. He's the best in the business. We love Rocco. And he's so well respected that he actually serves as a consultant to different college basketball programs across the country when they are planning and trying to schedule for the upcoming season. And this is months in advance, of course. But on particular teams and strength and projected strength of record, schedule, and how those teams are going to be filtered out. All of that being said, Rocco just super good at what he does. He's going to be joining us. A lot of texts coming in as well, 205-834-9450. Do want to tease this, though. Molly has got a special NFL Valentine segment that you don't want to miss.
They're quite funny, most of them. A little raunchy.
That's right.
But a whole lot of humor.
So Molly's going to bring us that at 1:15. So you want to make sure that you stick around. And why would you not? Because a guy that we respect so much, and this time of year, we're so fortunate to have him. It is our buddy Rocco Miller. He joins us here on 3-Man Front on the Buyers Right Hotline. Bracketeer.org is your only place that you need to go when you get ready to fill out your bracket in March. Rocco, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. The timing of this is phenomenal. I'm about to hit publish on today's bracket post. So once we're wrapped up, that should be all ready to go for everybody on bracketeer.org. And, every Monday and Friday provides an opportunity to do a reset on everything going on across college basketball because typically once we hit January, which we've been well past January now, everybody plays once during the midweek and everybody plays once on the weekend. So it's a really clean way to see how that last result impacted things. And here we are again on Friday, getting ready for a huge weekend in the state of Alabama.
I don't want to spoil anything, and we've seen Auburn play since they lost at home to Florida. But what was your big takeaway from Auburn and how they played? Florida played really well. They shot it really well. But to go in there and do what they did in Neville, did that change your opinion at all of this Auburn team?
Well, I don't know, maybe in some ways it could be good for them. They've been so dominant in most of their performances. And Florida is that way, where they can just stroke. It was extra impressive, I think, on the Florida side because Elijah Martin wasn't available, and they had a couple other issues they were dealing with internally. And I guess when you're just shooting it that well, there's not a lot you can do. I think that was surprising at first, caught Auburn off guard, and then they were playing catch up the rest of the way. Should they meet again? I think that's their only scheduled meeting, but they could certainly play in the SEC tournament. I feel like Auburn would be a lot better prepared to try to make Florida beat them in different ways. But because, again, that lights out start to the game was really tough to recover from. But we see this all the time, Final Four contenders, national championship contenders. A lot of times they need to be punched in the mouth this time of year to get kind of regrouped, refocused. So I would imagine the response we see from Auburn in this heavyweight bout coming up tomorrow against Alabama will be a really strong effort, very focused.
So, Rocco, talking about the game tomorrow, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume whoever loses, they're not going to be at risk of falling off of the 1 seed line right now. They clearly seem to be the 2 of the top 3 teams in the country. But what are the implications, just looking at what both Alabama and Auburn have coming up the rest of the way in the regular season? What are the implications of the game tomorrow for the team that ultimately loses?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. They have some cushion right now, but you certainly don't want to slip into like a 2-game or 3-game skid. I think you look at Alabama first as probably, they're at home tomorrow, but like I said, Auburn's going to be completely locked in, I think, after what occurred last weekend. So if Alabama were to fall, they got to turn around on Wednesday and go to Mizzou. Mizzou is a very difficult team to beat, especially at Mizzou. They play very cohesive ball, very similar to Alabama, this style that they're playing with this year and some of the pieces they have up there. And then they turn around after that and they get Kentucky and Mississippi State. Those are both in Tuscaloosa. But again, that just kind of gives you an example of how brutal this league is. You certainly can't drop 2-3 in a row and stay on the 1 seed line. Outside of the 1 seed line today, at least the way we have it on bracketeer.org, is the next teams in order to get up there are also in the league. Tennessee at 5 overall, top number 2 seed. And then next is Texas A&M, who they might have a little bit more work to do just because they haven't been blowing anybody out. So their performance numbers are more closer to the 10 to 20 range. But Texas A&M's got the second most amount of quality wins, as I would call them. Wins against NCAA level competition. They have 10 total right now. So A&M and Tennessee are right there waiting for like an Alabama or an Auburn to fall. In Auburn's case, it's really difficult to see a path where they're going to fall that far, even with if they had a 3-game skid, because they just have so much good banked, from that early season success at the Maui Invitational, from the all the other wins they collected prior to SEC play. And then, of course, you add all the SEC stuff. They're leading the country with 12 wins against the projected tournament field. They have a good chunk of those away from home. So, again, I think Alabama may be at more risk, but even in their case, they have a lot of great wins as well.
You mentioned some of those next tier teams, and Tennessee being one of those, Texas A&M being the other. Tennessee, Rocco, to me, defensively, you know what you're going to get from a Rick Barnes team, but you don't have a Dalton Connect. You have had times where Tennessee has just been so offensively anemic. Who's got the higher ceiling? If we're projecting out and we're saying, this team could do a lot more damage with potential different matchups of teams that they could see in the tournament, who's got that higher ceiling?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, I think A&M can just grind you to death like a Houston type of team. They don't necessarily need to depend on any kind of hot shooting, but we saw Tennessee just, they went 3 for 18 from 3 against Kentucky. And even Kentucky themselves didn't have their best performance offensively. They did shoot at 50% from deep, which was terrific, but they had other lapses in the game where they weren't as strong, and Tennessee could have, got right back in there and made a move, and they just couldn't score a basket when they needed it. I think the team with the most upside might be this Missouri team. I mean, obviously they're way down there as like a 6 seed today, but I think when they won at Florida and in some of their other offensive performances, like they went to Mississippi State a couple weekends ago, I'm sure you guys saw that, just totally torched them. I think those are the kinds of teams that are really dangerous in the tournament because there's going to be teams they're matched up against from there is no league as good as the SEC. So you're going to be playing a team from a lower league, even if it is a power league, that might not have the horses to just be able to stop something like that. Whereas teams like A&M and Tennessee, they're going to be looking to more so grind you out and depend on you to fail. So I think that's how I see it going. Both paths, both styles can be successful in the tournament, and both styles can fail. So, but if you're just looking for like that upside team, I would take Missouri out of the whole group in the conference.
Talking with Rocco Miller from bracketeer.org, does a fantastic job breaking down the NCAA tournament field each and every year for us here on Three Man Front. So Rocco, you're just talking about the ceiling for individual teams. I want to ask you, the SEC as a whole, what number right now, maybe is it 14 that you see as the ceiling for the amount of SEC teams we could see in the NCAA tournament? And then what is the floor for the lowest amount of teams that you would expect to potentially get in?
I really don't see a path for 14. If I'm wrong, you have my phone number. Call me back. But I just think it's the combination of all these teams. Somebody has to lose every single game. So there's 7 SEC games in the middle of every week, and there's 7 on every Saturday.
Well, I didn't know if you knew this, Rocco, but the SEC is 82 and 82 on the season.
There we go. There we go. It's unbelievable. Yeah, and I double checked, but the SWAC is actually 66 and 66. It's amazing.
Oh, that's wild.
It is. Who knew? But I'll digress. My point is, right now there's 5 teams living on the bubble from where I'm sitting, and in order today, the order kind of surprised me because it shuffled since Monday. But my order for those 5 would be Oklahoma. They did such good work in the non-conference, but their conference record is poor. I think they're down to 3 and 8. I don't know if there's a way they can get in at 6 and 12 or worse. So that's certainly the number one team to monitor because they don't really look the part the way they're playing right now. They just looked overmatched in a lot of these matchups against the better SEC teams, but they're still in right now. And then Vanderbilt's teetering. Vanderbilt's got a really good home resume, but you don't really get selected by winning a bunch of good home games and storming the court. You got to pick up some road wins. And right now, Vandy's best road win's only LSU. Overall, I like what Vandy's doing. They're a good team to watch. I think they run good stuff. Byington's doing a great job there. So they're still in, but they could quickly fall out. They also have the worst non-conference schedule by far out of all these teams. So that's their big kryptonite. If they end up close to the bubble, the committee could, just by that alone, leave them out of the field. And then you have Arkansas. And Arkansas was the surprise to me. They snuck into the field. I thought they were still 1 win away, going into the exercise. But when you look at those wins at Kentucky and at Texas, and you're looking at how messy the bubble is, Arkansas was picked today because of that. But I do have Georgia out, which might be also a little bit of a surprise. They do have, some good wins away from home. They got the St. John's win out in the Bahamas deal that they did, but right now they have a losing record in meaningful games, and that's a big no-no if you don't have a strong true road win. and that's where the Bulldogs are lacking. And then I also have Texas. They're 2 under 500, so I thought Texas was pretty clearly out today. So that leaves us with 12 as we're speaking right now. But as you can tell, this continues to be a carousel revolving door. These teams can pick up big wins and be right back in, or they can have a disappointing loss and be right back out. And they all have a little bit of nuance to why they're in and why they're out. They're still treated as individual entities. So that's important to remember as we go. There's not a surefire way to get in or out. That obviously you want to keep playing good basketball. But I think if you're 7-11 in the SEC or better, they'll be considered. And then from there, they'll want to get some true road wins against tournament level competition to really feel good about their chances. And that's why, Arkansas has a good upside going forward.
Rocco, what's crazy, and you've been doing this for a long time, but normally if we're going outside of the conference, when we're talking to you about these discussions leading into conference tournaments and how many teams get in, if we go outside of the SEC, there's a lot of other teams that we can talk about that we really don't know about. But because of the strength of the non-conference schedule, because of Auburn and Alabama being in the state, you look after them, Duke, Florida, Tennessee, Houston, Purdue, Texas A&M, Iowa State. Of all of those teams, Auburn and Alabama, or both, have played those teams. We've seen those teams. You just mentioned one, though, St. John's. What are we missing on St. John's? Tell us about this team, and I realize with their record, they're pretty good. Is this a team that has a lot of staying power potentially in March?
Potentially, for sure. Yeah, I think watching them, it's really interesting because they play with relentless effort. It's almost like they're afraid to lose and go back to practice under Coach Pitino. That they just play, they get down. They've had several games in the Big East, including their biggest win, which was at UConn last Friday, a week ago. They were down 15 in the first half. Usually, if you're down 15 at UConn, forget about it. Game's over. The crowd's crazy. They're the defending national champion. But that's not how this St. John's team operates. They continue fighting. They're probably the best conditioned team I've seen all year, meaning like they're just in such great shape. They move fast. When you think you've got them, you don't. So they're very, very sneaky. You see how many close wins they've been able to pull out late. With all that being said, they just don't have a great resume still because they didn't schedule that hard. And a lot of the Big East wins that they're getting aren't moving the needle, with the Big East being mostly down. Obviously, they had the Marquette home win, and now they have the road UConn win. But then they turn around and lose at Villanova in another close game. So right now, like they're still a 5. They fell back to a 5 seed because of that Villanova setback. I think that's the important thing to know is they've lost 4 total games, and I think it's by 7 total points. So they're 7 points away from being undefeated. So it's really interesting. I think it's going to be very difficult to blow them out. And I think, that kind of tenacity and toughness and clutch, that's what you're looking for in March, especially filling out your bracket. So I think there's a lot of upside there just with all that grit, but they're not good enough to just pound teams either. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay,
Rocco, you just brought up UConn there. So UConn, they do fall to St. John's. They get a bounce back earlier in the week, knocking off Creighton. So UConn currently, they've fallen out of the top 25. As it stands right now, they are 17-7 on the season. So the 2-time defending national champions, Rocco, is this a team that you look at come NCAA tournament time? You think they're still going to be a big threat come postseason play, or is this just a completely different UConn team than what we've seen the last couple of years, and they would just be fortunate to potentially make a Sweet 16 run?
I think it's both. I think it's a completely different team, but I think they're still a big threat. I think the one thing that's easy to overlook when you just look at their record is the Liam McNeely factor. He's a freshman, but he's a heralded freshman. And nationally, we have so many amazing freshmen. It's probably one of the best classes I've seen in the last decade, at least. And McNeely was down. He's only played 16 games. Came back, I think it was 2 weeks ago. No, he came back on that game against St. John's we talked about earlier last Friday. So he's been back for 2 games. But if you saw the Creighton road win on the Tuesday night, I think it was, he was remarkable. I mean, he was unstoppable, best player on the court by far. Goes for 38 points, 10 rebounds as an 18-year-old. He just plays with so much confidence, and he allows at 6'7", 200 pounds, 210 pounds. He allows Coach Hurley to interchange his other parts. That makes Caravan an even bigger factor. It makes their guards better. It frees everybody else up when you have a guy like that healthy. So they've really missed him. And they took some of those bad losses, or maybe just disappointing losses, I guess, because UConn has lofty expectations with him gone. And now that he's fully healthy and back, I think their ceiling's really high again.
We know that Indiana is going to be open at the end of the season. That means potentially Michigan, I guess, if Dusty May decides that he wants to leave Ann Arbor. Also, Hubert Davis at North Carolina. We're getting a lot of buzz that maybe Nate Oates would be their top selection. We typically don't go potential hypothetical coaching searches, but you run in some pretty big college basketball circles. What are you hearing about the potential and potential replacements from the folks that you're talking to on those three jobs?
Yeah, so for Indiana, I think it's obviously a big job. It gets a ton of attention locally. I mean, their fan base is crazy. And I think that's part of for some of the candidates out there, that's part of the problem. Like if you're Dusty May, and I'm not going to speak for him, but the pressure of that job every single day, or if you lose a game, it's very intense, especially if you're somebody from there. I think that, if you go back to the 90s with Steve Alford, he came up the ranks, and sorry, not the 90s, but the early 2000s, when he was coming up the coaching ranks and he had the Iowa job. He was always linked to Indiana, and he never ended up taking the job. I think for a lot of the same reasons. Just it's a tough thing to deal with in your personal life. If you're from there and it means a lot to you, and you lose a game, you're already stressed out, and then the fans are all over you. It's not for everybody. So I think based on what I'm hearing, I think that the sentiment is if Indiana decided to offer Chris Beard, that would probably be he would probably take that for sure. I think that obviously the optics of what happened down there at Texas, and now that he's been at Ole Miss for 2 years and they're having a good year, that could be a scenario that plays out. It's just a matter of where Indiana feels about where he is, and if they're comfortable with it. If they don't go Chris Beard, then I think the Rolodex opens a little bit further. They could go to like a Jared Calhoun who's at Utah State. They could go bigger. They could, I think going after an SEC coach would make a lot of sense, especially if they're at maybe the 5th, 6th, 7th best SEC jobs. Might be able to outpay some of those schools still. So, yeah, we'll see. But nothing besides Beard has really clicked for me. So we'll have to stay connected on this as it moves forward.
And as far as Hubert Davis in North Carolina, is North Carolina they get a swing big? What's the likelihood that he gets run by season's end?
No, I would say probably 80% he's gone. Yeah, so I would count on that being open. And then from a candidate standpoint, you guys probably know North Carolina has always been about hiring within the family. So the big decision their administration has to make is, are we going to scrap that and get with the times and just go outside of our network? Because within their network, the real only candidate's been Wes Miller that's been there, but he has failed to get Cincinnati in the tournament. They're still forecasted as an NIT team again this year. So I don't know that Wes Miller is going to excite the fan base, even though he is in the family. And, even if he rallies Cincinnati into the tournament, I don't know if that's good enough for Carolina's expectations. So a lot of changes there too. They just introduced yesterday. They're going to probably build a new facility, a new Dean Dome, if you will, but it will be off campus. So there's a lot of tension there. Plus on the football side, they gave Bill Belichick $10 million, right? So just a lot of changes all around at North Carolina. I would say everything's out there and open on the table, but I do think Hubert's likely gone.
And quickly, because you're a West Coast guy, is Mick Cronin, the head coach at UCLA, the most miserable basketball coach in America?
I'm going to say no, because I think a lot of it's for show. He's so good at motivating his players. He does a lot of that on purpose.
Okay.
Much like Dan Hurley at UConn. They have these little mechanisms they use with the media to try to fire their team up. And you notice after his last tirade, they went out and won 5 or 6 in a row after that.
Yeah.
So it totally works. And so, I've been following this guy for 20 years, and it seems to work most years for him. And I don't think he's all that miserable, deep down. It's just he's a very good actor at it.
Rocco, you're the best. Thanks for taking time. Tell people, because you're going to be releasing this. It's every Monday and every Friday, but you're going to be releasing your latest findings there at bracketeer.org, and tell other people where they can find your stuff, not only right now, but through March and when we get to the title game in April.
Appreciate it. Yeah, bracketeer.org for all the bracket updates, your source of truth. But on Twitter, I'm at Rocco Miller 8. keep everybody posted with things going on, different things we're discussing. I served on a mock committee last night, which will carry into March. 7 of us, 7 strong bracketologists with over a decade experience, just talking about teams coming to a group answer instead of just my own answer. So that's a healthy exercise. That's all on YouTube. And then on Field of 68, I have a show I'm part of called Fielding the 68. We'll be on live today at 5 Eastern, so that's coming up in a couple hours. And that's every Monday and Friday as well. And last but not least, just because we're in the region, down here in Atlanta today, we'll be at the Georgia-Missouri game in Athens tomorrow. So if anybody happens to be out there, come say hello.
That sounds like so much fun. I'm envious of what you get to do. What we get to do is really cool, but especially tournament time, what you get to do. Have you decided where you're going to be championship week when that rolls around?
Certainly in Vegas, WCC tournament, that's kind of an annual thing with the semis and the finals out there. But I haven't made any other firm decisions. I would love to get to St. Louis for Arch Madness. I think that's always one of the greatest tournaments. And then outside of that, I've actually kind of looked at the Sun Belt. They're playing on a Sunday for their semis and finals down there in Pensacola. There's a lot of good options. It's just hard because a lot of them are on the same day.
Rocco, great stuff. Have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll talk to you very, very soon. He's Rocco Miller. You can find all of his stuff there at bracketeer.org, at Rocco Miller, the number 8 on Twitter. Rocco, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good to be on with you again.
Great to have you as well. Rocco Miller joining us, as all of our guests do, on the Buyers Right Hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. Miss Molly Robinson has Valentines from NFL players and what they would be. Don't want to miss it. It's next on 3-Man Front.
Welcome back into Three Man Front, 127 here on your Valentine's Day Friday. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate Rocco Miller, our resident bracketologist from thebracketeer.org, joining us just moments ago, saying he doesn't expect 14 SEC teams to get in. Thinks the real number is maybe closer to 11, 12, something like that, because you do have, as he mentioned, Arkansas, Georgia, Vanderbilt, a couple of other teams that are kind of on the bubble. So maybe where an Arkansas gets elevated into the tournament, you have a team like Georgia get demoted out of the tournament. And so just kind of that back and forth with how good the SEC has been this year. So we appreciate Rocco joining us here throughout college basketball season. We'll hear from him again as we approach NCAA tournament time. But now, is it time for the NFL Valentines?
Molly,
I think it is.
you're really excited
They're
about
very
this.
lovely. Well, most of them.
What are we calling this?
Just happy Valentine's Day from
Caught
me.
by Cupid's arrow?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you can't read the Chiefs one. That was my favorite.
No, I can't read that
Oh,
one.
man, but you can, Conrad.
I would like to come back to work on Monday.
Yeah, I probably
You
wouldn't.
can't substitute a word or maybe give a hint.
It's a little hard to give a hint for.
There
That's
it
my
is.
that's my hint.
There's the hint.
That's my hint.
There she.
Perfect.
Man, that really.
Yeah.
You'll understand it.
That was
Well,
perfect,
anyway,
yeah.
we have some Valentines from NFL memes.
Oh, good.
And they're quite lovely. And each Valentine has a picture of either, a player, a team logo, some announcers.
Will you give us the
I'll give
the
you-
player or the announcer, and then maybe we can just guess what we think it would be, and then you tell us what
Yeah,
it is?
sure. Okay, let's start. Easy one. Travis Kelce.
Oh, Travis Kelce.
Mhm.
His would be
I hope you like this new song I wrote about you.
If I Never Catch Another Pass.
At least I caught you.
That's not a bad guess. I may not be open on the field, but I'm open to love.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You were spot on, Landrum.
Okay, I like this one a lot. The Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, Buffalo Bills.
hmm
4 straight Super Bowl losses brought a lot of heartache.
Okay.
Make this heart whole again.
Okay. Any guesses, Conrad?
Our games may be cold, but my heart is full with warm
was
with
good.
love.
Okay.
Something like that.
For the Buffalo Bills, the Valentine is, are you the Lombardi Trophy? Because I get all choked up around you.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's pretty good.
Okay. Jalen Hurts.
Ooh.
Is it just going to be like Love Hurts or something simple like that?
No, it ain't that
How
simple.
about OU was fun, but my first love will always be UA.
There you go.
The Valentine for Jalen Hurts has to do with the brotherly shove. I ain't the only tush getting some pushing tonight.
Oh, there we go.
That is the Valentine for Jalen Hurts.
That's a good one.
Jalen.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is good.
This one's good too. Bill Belichick.
Okay, Bill Belichick.
Okay.
I am.
Can you do it in your
I
accent?
don't know if I can.
Okay.
I'm still in my Patrick Mahomes. It's just
I love you like a daughter.
I'm not really good with words. Oh, that's,
I don't know.
love has no age limit.
You guys are on the right track. It says, if you can read this, you're probably too old for me.
Oh, there we go. That's good.
All right. Oh, Daniel Jones.
Oh,
Daniel Jones.
shouldn't be hard for you to intercept this kiss.
Close. Okay. You're on the right track.
Okay. It's like it's gonna have to do something with turnovers or something like that.
Yeah. Golly. I always outkick my coverage.
You intercepted my heart.
Okay, there we
Yeah.
go. There we
Yeah.
go.
All right, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh Lord.
Like I'm saying, a lot of these I can't read, so I have to go through.
Aaron
them ahead of
Rodgers
time
would
and-
be, I got some shrooms, want to get naked.
Okay.
Yeah. Something like that, or something involving a dark room, something like that. Yeah.
It's want to waste some time with me.
Oh, okay. There we
Okay,
go. That's
yeah.
a good one. That's
My Achilles is love.
Okay. This next one is really funny, and it's a double whammy. Okay, there's two athletes in it: Bryce Young and Kyler Murray.
okay. It's something about their height. It's
Mhm.
got to be something about the height. I may be short, but aren't you a tall glass of water?
If I got on his shoulders, I would be eye level with a supermodel. I don't know.
Oh, I can't believe I'm reading these. It says size isn't everything.
Oh, okay. Overthought that one.
All right,
Yeah.
Conrad, this one's for you. Tua.
I don't.
I can't do. I
No,
gotta-
do it.
No, I
Do
can't.
it.
I can't. I'll have CTE community all over me. Nope,
Oh.
not gonna do it.
Well, the card says "Merry Christmas, my love."
And there it
Okay,
is.
there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Golly, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's that's really funny. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Stop it.
The Cowboys. What
We're
about the-
married? Question mark?
Right. All right. What about the Dallas Cowboys?
Dallas Cowboys.
Something about breaking your heart. I don't know. Sorry for breaking your heart for 40 years. I don't know.
You're on the right track.
Don't get the wrong idea. Football games are the only area of life that we underperform.
All right, the Cowboys. Sorry I didn't get you anything this year, but remember that gift I got you 3 decades ago?
Let's go on.
There we go.
All right,
There we go.
let's do a few more. Tony Romo.
Tony Romo. I already know exactly how our date is going to go.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I saw you coming from a mile away, something like that.
Ooh, I don't know, Jim. Should she be my Valentine?
That's good. That's really good.
I don't know, Jim.
I don't know, Jim.
I don't know, Jim.
I don't know. Good old Tony.
Chris Collinsworth.
Chris Collinsworth.
Thanks for sliding into my life, because he always does the slide into the broadcast.
I don't know.
To my dearest love, Patrick. And that's it.
That's good.
All right, we're going to do one more.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill.
Oh no.
Tyreek Hill.
I hope this finds you well. I can't keep up with all of you. Something along those lines.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Which kid is yours again? Yeah.
So,
which one is ours?
Yeah.
it's a poem.
Okay.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Look at him.
Roses are red, violets are great. I would call you my baby, but that would make you number 8.
Oh.
So thank you to NFL Memes for providing these lovely Valentines. Like I said, a lot of them I couldn't read
That was awesome.
because I like what
All
I
right,
do.
so just read the first line of the Chiefs one. Or get close.
Are you a chance at a three-peat? That's all I'm going to say.
Oh. Yeah.
Because if you are, I would love to.
Just that. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah. We can connect the dots.
Yeah.
That's a good
You
one.
just did. You actually did it yourself right there. Thank you, Molly. That was
You're welcome.
great.
Thank you. That was really fun.
Some of your texts, we'll get to those. Also, the worst thing I've seen, a Valentine's Day edition, 3-man front on this Friday, Jocks 94.5. It's been a fun show. Three-man front, Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. Pat was with us for much of the show, as were plenty of guests. Wimp Sanderson, his normal spot in the 10 o'clock hour, presented by Craneworks, talking IBOB, Alabama, and Auburn coming up tomorrow. You can hear the game right here on Jock 94.5 with a tip at Coleman Coliseum at 3 p.m. Nathan King, Auburn Undercover, joining us in the 11 o'clock hour, giving us the Auburn side of things. Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16, not only talking about that big matchup, but the SEC as a whole as we come down the stretch of the SEC schedule, get ready for Nashville and the SEC basketball tournament, and that will lead us, of course, into March Madness. And Rocco Miller, our resident bracketologist. All of that can be found at the Three Men Front podcast at jocksfm.com. Always tell you about our friends at Prize Picks. You have NBA All-Star Weekend this weekend. If you're not going to watch the game, well, they have potential matchups you can throw out. There's one that you could go and look at the Prize Picks app, and it would be Steph Curry. 5 made threes, more or less, in the three-point shooting contest. Different stuff like that. Or tomorrow, I am sure that they will have one for Mark Sears and Janai Broom. Will Mark Sears have more or less than 17.5 points? Will Janai Broom have more or less than 17.5 points? It's just more or less, and you just take two of those particular matchups, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. It's really simple. Download the Prize Picks app today. When you do so, fill out your information, sign up for your account, enter promo code WJOX. When you enter promo code WJOX, your first $5 play, whether you win or you lose, you're going to get $50 instantly credited to your account. It's that easy. Drake, one of our great listeners, so many others, they've tried it, and I've heard a lot of positive things. These folks are winning. You can win as well. Download the app today. WJOX is the promo code. $5 play, win or lose, you're going to get $50 instantly to your account. We appreciate our friends at Prize Picks and their partnership here at Jocks 94.5.
Well, from time to time, we see good and we see bad. And how about today, a special Valentine's Day edition of The Worst Thing I've Seen? So I think this is something that, if you've ever been in a relationship, you've probably done this at one point or another. I know Landrum, with him talking about how much he loves giving his wife gifts and seeing her excitement, he's probably experienced this. I experienced this with Christmas, but you get a gift for your significant other and you know they're going to love it, or you think they're going to love it, and you start to kind of hype it up. Oh, I got you the best gift ever. You don't even know. You're going to be so surprised. And hopefully, like in my instance, it pans out for you and they're very excited about the gift. It works out. You're the hero, all of this good stuff.
My advice would be don't ever play it up.
That would probably be good advice. Yes.
Be sneaky, downplay it all you can, and you will, most of the time, you look like $1 million. Unless you get the wrong size.
Yes, that is much better advice. But unfortunately, sometimes you might do that. And the reason you say that, Landrum, is because you hype something up and it's not quite what your significant other was hoping for or expecting. And then there's disappointment. And so that is the case that we have here on Valentine's Day, where we had a married couple. So this was their first year of marriage. So I guess technically their first Valentine's Day as a married couple. And the husband was hyping up the Valentine's Day gift. He was telling his wife, "You're going to love this. It's incredible. I've gone above and beyond, absolutely knocked it out of the park." And unfortunately, she did not see it that way. So ultimately, what ended up happening was the wife was checking the closet one day looking for something to wear, and she noticed that her wedding dress that she had worn the previous year at their wedding was missing from the closet. So she starts to wonder, okay, wonder what this Valentine's Day gift is. It turns out the Valentine's Day gift from the husband was he got her wedding dress dry cleaned, which was apparently something that she had had on her to-do list since the wedding. And he thought, oh, this is going to be such a great gift for her. It's going to be clean and, whatever. She can try to wear it again, whatever the situation may be. And unfortunately, it was simply a task that she was going to get done in the near future. And he thought that he had hit an absolute grand slam with his Valentine's Day gift by getting his wife the wedding dress dry cleaned. So the wife said that her husband is not exactly the best gift giver, but he genuinely tries to make a good impression. She mentions that over the course of their relationship, he has tried and essentially failed most of the times that he gives her a gift. And so with it being their first Valentine's Day as a married couple, she was hoping that, maybe this year it's actually going to live up to the hype. And unfortunately, that is not the case. She went on to say, quote, "We've only been married for a year, and I never got around to doing the cleaning because we thought that we might retake our wedding photos. So in my mind, I thought, great, he's going to get us set up, and we're going to take anniversary photos for our first Valentine's Day as a married couple," when ultimately there were no pictures being taken, no extravagant setup. It was simply the fact that he took the wedding dress to be dry cleaned and then returned it to the closet. So
it's the thought was there.
The thought was there, and
was.
as I shared, she mentioned that her husband has a track record of being bad at gift giving, but he genuinely tries. So the thought was there, but maybe the execution not quite what she was hoping.
This is going to be more for guys, but I've got 10 gifts that you should never give for Valentine's Day.
Is a vacuum cleaner on there?
Here we go. I will go from 10 to 1. Number 10, a cliche gift basket. All those prearranged baskets of soaps, candies, lotions, and other assorted knickknacks are always the things that go on sale after Valentine's Day because everyone knows they're awful gifts. If you really can't decide on just one thing for your partner, at least get them a subscription box that they'll actually use and look forward to month to month.
Yeah, I feel like that gift just kind of screams, I don't know you that well, so here's a bunch of stuff you're
Just
never going to
random,
use.
yeah.
I've been guilty of this, of a stocking stuffer, but this is different. Number 9, a generic gift card. Nothing says I love you quite like a Visa gift card you grabbed at the grocery store checkout line, along with a plain Valentine's Day card, of course. Even if you forgot about the holiday and it's February 14th and you're empty-handed, don't worry. Rather than settling for a gift card, treat your partner to a custom-made card from Etsy, tailored to their individual interest.
Yeah, the gift card is...
They can be hit or miss.
I gave Paige a gift card when we were dating one time, and I mean, she used it, but it was like, thanks.
See, I like a gift
you
card.
really put
because you
thought
can buy
into
what
that.
you want.
Yeah. Well, when I went to pick up the bouquet of flowers yesterday from a certain store, they had a very small selection of Valentine's themed cards. So I just got, it's pretty generic, and I wrote out
There you go.
my own, but I wasn't going to go. I wanted to find something clever and funny, but.
I will also share this, at least in my experience with my wife, the best gift that I ever give Paige, and I'll do it sometimes on Christmas, sometimes on birthday, sometimes on Valentine's. I kind of try to mix it up. Doesn't take long. Take 10 minutes, write a handwritten note to your significant other, just telling them how much you appreciate them, how much you enjoy your life together. I promise you, if you do that, you will be good.
And do it in cursive. They'll really be impressed.
Yes.
If you can write in cursive.
Yeah, I was
Let's say
about
if
to
they
say.
can read it.
Yeah.
Number 8, a bottle of wine. That's a no-no. Number 7 on worst gifts to give your significant other, household appliances.
Yep.
Don't give a vacuum or a toaster. Number 6, a night out at the movies. While there's an exception to this one,
if
you're
rom-com?
parents that need to go away from the kids, spending upwards of $50 on a subpar movie ticket just to eat subpar popcorn that'll cost you another $20 and sit in subpar seats isn't exactly the most romantic of evenings. Better spent with a streaming service everyone's obsessed with. Number 5, cheap lingerie.
Okay, yeah, I guess they could tell it was cheap. You
I
can't put a lot
understand
of
and
thought into it.
appreciate where your head is at here, but know that no woman will understand or appreciate when they're wearing itchy, too tight, poorly made undergarments.
Good point.
So go big and go nice on those. Flowers and nothing else. Don't do that.
Oh, well, then I'm in trouble.
A candle is number 3.
Okay, yeah, see, I would throw that in like the gift basket thing
Yeah.
again, where it's like a generic gift, which, I mean, they'll use it, but
Number 2 surprised me. Heart-shaped jewelry.
No.
You do not need to buy someone a heart-shaped necklace or bracelet or earrings to show your love for them. In fact, not only do you not need to, but you probably shouldn't. Opt for classy over cheesy with something more along the lines of like a pendant necklace. And the number one gift, do not give. And I hope that we are not running a promotion for this. An oversized teddy bear.
It's just impractical.
What are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Takes up a lot of space.
Leave the stuffed animals for the kids, please, and thank you. Your partner is much more likely to enjoy curling up with a weighted blanket than a creepy 7-foot-tall teddy bear. There you go.
Fair enough.
We try to help.
Thank you,
Three-man front. We continue on Jocks 94.5. Let's get it on. Yeah, baby. Yeah. You can light the candle if you want to. Probably don't need to finish that. Three-man front here on this Valentine's Day. Hope everyone is doing well. Hopefully we've helped you out with some advice All of the portions of the show can be found there at the 3-Man Front podcast at jocksfm.com. We'll have plenty to talk about on Monday with a live show. There are some people that are off. I'm being told it's a holiday, apparently.
Oh, it's President's Day.
President's Day.
We will be here.
We will be here. And so if you're hanging out and you just want to catch a break, some of you are going to be working, then we will have full reaction, takeaways, Reaction Monday from you on the IBOB between Alabama and Auburn. And we appreciate all of you joining us each and every day. The text line is open. We love your interaction. 205-834-9450. Text coming in about ideal Valentine's Day gifts, destinations. BB, the first lady of the Taco Terrace. BB. Whoa, what? Here we go. My ideal Valentine's would be another week on the clothing optional beach at St. Martin, ... with a personal cabana boy.
I don't know what
Yes,
I was
BB,
expecting out of that text, but it wasn't that.
Baby, I hope that you get that.
I mean, yeah, right?
Why not?
Go get it, girl.
I appreciate the honesty.
I do too.
I do too.
It's refreshing.
Wow. Valentine's Day is a day where the man can only lose. What should the women do for the men? Put up with their crap for one more day.
I was about to say, I hope it's not a day where you feel like you lose, but
Find every good man is a great woman.
that's right.
All right. Happy Valentine's Day. We love you guys. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up Monday, it will be Reaction Monday. Everybody be safe. Try to be civil. But tonight, love the one you're with. Yeah, that's right. Paul Feinbaum.